Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was in Bleach and Got Harem Part 1? And subscribe if you enjoy the video. And also check the description. So let's begin the story. Whoever said life is short obviously never had certain aspects of theirs all in order. What do you do when you've achieved everything that you've ever set out to do? Most people would say that doing such a thing would mean that it was time to rest and reflect on your life. Looking back at everything you've ever done, reveling in your victories and successes, dwelling in your defeats and failures. Pretty much just going over every part of your life. Because if you've achieved everything you've set out to do that you saw as important, that is all you can do at that point. Simply reflect on the past. Well, what happens when you do that? And you keep doing that, and doing it, and doing it, until you've run through every facet of your life enough times to relive it 10 times over. Eventually you get bored. Of course you're probably thinking, but wait, 10 times over? Shouldn't you be dead? Well, yeah. I should. That's pretty much the point of this little tirade of mine. I'm not dead. Because of the things I did and a certain mixture of traits that I was born with / developed throughout the course of my very chaotic and hectic life, I can't just die. Not of old age. Not really of disease either. Because my immune system is better than any kind of health care you could think of. And not from anyone trying to kill me either. Because I haven't had anyone worth talking about actively pursuing my life for. Kami, I would guess a few hundred years at this point. Yes, a few hundred years. Apparently the two toads that taught me the way of the sages weren't bluffing when they told me of their ages. Being well over 800 years old when I met them. And believe it or not, they're still alive. Just like me. Add that to the fact that one of my greatest and most well-known traits, my unflinching vitality and ability to damn near regenerate any significant damage done to me if given enough time, carried over into my lifespan as well. So despite the fact that I am undoubtedly the oldest old man alive on the face of the planet, I sure as hell don't look like it. It makes it very hard for people to take you seriously when you spout proverbs and important life facts. But you don't look a day over 21 years old. Hell, these days people think I look younger than that. A blond young man climbed off of a bus at a station, letting out a massive yawn and scratching his hair as he slung his bag over his back. Rubbing his eyes after awakening from a nap taken during the long ride, he scanned the crowd of people that had gotten off with him, meeting loved ones or hurrying off to their intended destinations. He simply took his time before walking off, going his own way. He didn't have any living loved ones or anywhere in particular to be. He had seen the world time and time again, but he had always missed coming to this little spot, Karakura town. Not a very assuming place, not very high at all on his favorite list of places to visit, actually pretty normal as far as he was concerned. Par the course for the cities and towns that populated the world in this era, not too big, and not so small. So I simply go about my business, which is no business. I travel about, doing random things, whatever I can do to fight the still life. I've never been registered as a citizen anywhere? How could I be? I'm more or less immortal. Eventually people would get suspicious when the same guy they knew as an 8-year-old was alive and kicking, still looking younger than they were when they were pushing gray hairs, right? I'm more or less a drifter, making money to get to one place from the next, doing whatever interests me at the time, with nothing important to really take care of. What else could I do? The young man had his blonde hair in a wild spiky manner on his head. A pair of goggles on his forehead to keep his wild bangs out of his eyes to go with bright blue eyes and strange whisker marks on his cheeks. He was wearing a pair of navy blue jeans, white sneakers, and a white t-shirt underneath an unzipped orange windbreaker jacket with a black stripe going down the sleeves. Around his neck was a blue bandana with a worn, old metal plate sewn to it. If one were looking intently at it, they could make out the symbol of a leaf on the plate. Still, I continued to cultivate the skills and abilities that I spent the majority of my embattled youth learning and living around, because you never know, right? The energy known in my time as chakra, the blending of spiritual and physical energies, began to fade from use, and while I had seen people who had used ki, or what I called yutan, yang release, the physical embodiment of the two, I had never seen anyone use both. But as I developed my skills with both, I learned the extent of the spiritual half of chakra, intan, yin release. But I had never heard of any common name from that, due to the fact that I had never met anyone that knew of it enough to name it properly. It had so many names I just decided to call it what I knew it as. Due to my more intoned affinity with Inton, as time carried on I started seeing things. Spirits, specters, phantoms, poltergeists, spooks. Of course I'm talking about ghosts, ladies and gentlemen, the deceased embodiments of the dearly departed. But instead of being scared or anything stupid like that, I was actually pretty fired up. And why wouldn't I be? I could see dead people now. The first thing I did when I came to terms with this was hightail it as fast as I could back to the lands that my people once inhabited back in my original era, and see if I could see any old haunts around from back then. Unfortunately, I had no such luck. Everyone had passed on or weren't around anymore. It was for the best though. It would have been really selfish of me to want my friends and precious people to have hung around for hundreds of years with regrets, lingering all alone, bound to one place. So I kept traveling, eventually making my way to the here and now. Why is this important? Why out of all of the abilities that I've amassed over my long life is this the one that I'm talking about the most? Because even if death never comes looking for you, and you never go looking for it, eventually whether either of you know it or not your paths are going to cross. And it might not be the meeting that you expected it to be. The man walked through Karakura town taking in the quaint sights. He had walked past a few groups of street punks that tried to leer him down, but he just walked past them with a bark of laughter and kept on about his unassuming way. He didn't really mean to be about it, but he had faced down men with the power to destroy this city with a wiggle of their nose. A few kids with weapons consisting of, at the worst, a pair of brass knuckles or a flimsy switchblade was funny to him. He was sorry, but he just couldn't take them seriously. The fact that they had left him alone after he had done so was something of a compliment to him. Either they thought he looked like more trouble than he was really worth in the end, or he looked normal enough that doing anything to go after him wasn't really reasonable enough for a gang of delinquents. He found that the more time that had passed, the more either one of his traits from his time as a shinobi stood out. His ability to blend in and mix with general populations was becoming the more prominent trait, as opposed to having to show that he was the single most powerful person on the planet. If his face was getting too much attention that he didn't need or want, he could either make tracks from the point of interest, or make a few hand seals, and in a puff of smoke he was somebody completely different. He didn't know how many bullshit aliases he had come up with over the years, but in more recent times he started getting lazier and lazier about it, and transforming into people he had met at certain points in his life and using their names. He reached into his pocket and fished out his wallet before pulling out current kinds of identification in case it came to that. Alright, so we're back to using Uzumaki Naruto on the rotation for my name again? Works for me, he said to himself before continuing along. There was something Naruto was sensing about this town that he just couldn't put his finger on. There was a feeling in the air about the place that felt familiar. He just never felt enough of the feeling that was making him antsy to be able to readily identify what it was. But it was definitely putting him on edge, and it was something he wasn't ready to chalk up to paranoia, because at some point paranoia just means that your gut is getting better and better at figuring out you're in trouble before you ever realize it yourself. Naruto looked up in the sky to see what he thought were cracks? Yes. After waiting a moment, and seeing them get bigger, he could definitely say with full brevity and confidence that those were cracks in the sky. He looked around at the people, but kept his cool, as when he heard and saw the cracks he hadn't heard or seen anyone begin to freak out and run. So either this kind of thing happens all the time, and it's not dangerous enough for people to really care. Multiple S sounded out through different areas while cracks of all kinds appeared in the sky all over Karakura town's skyline, making himself scarce so that he could get himself to the top of a decently sized building for a better look. Naruto's sweat dropped when he saw dozens of cracks all over the sky, with gigantic monsters punching holes through them and entering, dropping from the sky into Karakura town. He looked down and still saw people walking about as if nothing were happening, or, the more likely of the two possible scenarios, no one else can see any of this happening. I was really hoping that it wasn't the second one. I'm too old for this shit. Naruto mumbled to himself before dipping into his power for a second, his eyes turning orange. Man, these things are just radiating hatred and violent desires. He picked up from his harnessed ability to sense negative emotions. What are these things? Naruto looked up and saw a crack above his head shatter, dropping one of these creatures down on his position, forcing him to jump out of the way lest he be crushed or have who knows what happened to him. As the dust from the monster's landing cleared, Naruto got a good look at what exactly he had seen begin infesting the town. The massive green humanoid creature stood at least an entire person larger than Naruto, with a massive hole in its chest where its heart should have been, and had spikes jutting from its arms, legs, the back of its neck, and the top of its head. On its face was a white skull mask with a twisted expression. Once it saw Naruto, its eyes glowed red, letting its intentions with him be known. "Yeah, okay, good. Whatever it is that you are," Naruto said, slowly creeping back on the balls of his toes, as if he were talking to a rabid dog that he was trying to edge away from before breaking out in a run. The monster opened its mouth to reveal another one behind it. "Ah, now that's a pretty smile." The monster edged again and turned its entire body towards Naruto. "Yeah, you're going to stay there and I'm going to get the hell out of here." Naruto immediately jumped from that rooftop to another a distance away in one bound, hearing of the monster that was more or less demanding him to turn around. Naruto looked over his shoulder and smirked. "Yeah, you've got to get up pretty early in the late afternoon to put down Uzumaki Naruto. Don't you know who I am?" He stopped running and turned to face the monster that hadn't begun pursuing him yet in order to taunt it in grandiose fashion. "I am the Dash." Naruto slowly turned around to find 3 more monsters different in appearance behind him. All of them large and hulkling, and each of them with a skull mask on with evil faces. Naruto sighed. "What the hell? Does anyone else have to deal with this kind of crap, or is it just me like always? Why is it always me that has to deal with this kind of shit?" A teen with spiky orange hair yelled to no one in particular. He was tall and lean-built with brown angry-looking eyes. Of course, that probably had to do with the horde of monsters that he was currently cutting through with his oversized sword. He was wearing a black hakama, a black kosode, white socks, and traditional straw sandals. "I've been killing hollows all day long, and they still just keep coming," he thought to himself as he quickly cut down the now identified hollows. "This is all Ishida Yuriu's fault. After all this is over, I'm finding Ishida and kicking him until he fixes this." The picture of a black-haired teen with glasses, a school uniform, and an arrogant look on his face taunting him filled the orange-haired boy's mind. The boy growled to himself and kept running down the street he was on. "I'm coming for you, Ishida. Don't underestimate my instincts, you bastard." An arrow of pure energy pierced the mask of another hollow, forcing it to break and the body of the hollow to fade into nothing. The black-haired teen that had been cursed out by the other stood with a bow of energy in one hand, his other drawn back as if he had just gotten through firing it, with blood dripping off of his fingertips. "It's getting harder to kill them with one strike," he thought to himself. "The number of hollows is far too high for the amount of bait I used. I can't seem to keep up with just my strength and ability. At this rate I'll dash dot." He violently squashed any negative thoughts he may have been propagating in his head. No whining, I can do it. I won't lose to Kurosaki Ichigo. I haven't made a mistake. I will avenge my sensei." He then threw himself back into his hunt for hollows. Headed number 4, Byakurai, Way of Destruction number 4, Pale Lightning. A small, petite girl with violet eyes and black hair wearing a school uniform shot off a small bolt of lightning from her index and middle fingertips at a hollow that simply bounced off of it harmlessly, prompting the hollow to take a swing at her, forcing her to jump back in evasion. She glared at the hollow. "Shit, my keto didn't work at all, and this hollow is just a small fry. I've been in this jigai for 2 months and my strength still hasn't recovered at all." The hollow lifted its arm to smash the girl into the ground when all of a sudden it was kicked in the side of the head by an orange blur. "Ichigo! Rukia Nizan!" Ichigo yelled as he attempted to latch onto the girl in a hug. At second glance, Ichigo was wearing his own school uniform, not the combat gear from his battles. "I've missed you." Rukia held him back from hugging her. "Khan? Damn it, Khan, that's you, isn't it?" She stopped him from advancing any further with her foot pushing on his face. "Wait. If you're here in Ichigo's body, then that means he transformed into a Shinigami, huh?" "Yeah. Khan," the spirit in Ichigo's body said, "I think there was something I was supposed to find you and ask about, but I can't really remember what it was." Rukia got a tick mark on her head and started mashing Khan's head harder with her foot. "Really? Well, I guess I have to help you remember, don't I? Oh, well, that's good. This place is safe at least." Both Rukia and Khan looked towards the direction of the voice to see Yuryu standing there. "What the hell are you talking about?" Khan ate angrily at Yuryu, This entire situation is your fault. You started all of this by trying to kill everyone in town, calling all of those hollows here with that bait. Rukia looked at Yuria with a distrusting expression. I see. So this is your handiwork after all. Yuria smirked. Well, a pleasure to meet you is probably what I should say. This is the first time I've spoken privately to you like this, Kichiki Rukia. He spoke next, getting Khan's attention. You there? The spirit in Kurosaki's body. You're correct when you say that I started the fight. However, I won't let a single person in this town die, he said, surprising both Rukia and Khan with his conviction. Even if Kurosaki Ichigo dies, I will protect the people in this town with my life. If I can't do that, then this fight has no meaning. What are you trying to prove? Rukia asked him, ignoring the hollow that Khan kicked, getting back to its feet to attack her and him again. Damn! Yuria quickly formed his bow to destroy the hollow when its head was suddenly cut off. I finally found you, you son of a bitch! Yuria turned his head and tilted his glasses back onto his face properly. Kurosaki. Ichigo stood at the top of a flight of park stairs. Hey there, Ishida. With Naruto. Naruto dodged another one of the hollows chasing after him. He had finally gotten sick of running and turned to fight the ones that had been after him before. But that only seemed to draw more to him, forcing him into the decision to run again. This is so stupid. Why in the hell do these things want to come and mess with me? I just got here. Who could I have possibly pissed off to have them such demons on me? Naruto quickly learned that the weapons he carried on him did next to nothing to these things. To even hit them, he needed to generate in chakra to his weapons before using them. If he didn't, they would just fly on through them as if they were ghosts. His regular ninjutsu would barely leave a mark on them. The only things that were guaranteed to work out for sure were his own fists and feet. So he was pretty much fighting freaky monster ghosts. Okay, he'd bite. What were they doing coming after him? They didn't seem very pissed about him taking the others out. They just all seemed to want a piece of him for no reason. Letting his thoughts sidetrack him, Naruto let out a very unmanly shriek before jumping over a horizontal swipe of one of the hollow's tails before landing on its head in a hard stomp that wound up cracking the mask and shattering it. Naruto stood in place as the dust settled, breathing heavily due to his impromptu combat session before turning to the sky and yelling defiantly, "What? Is that all you've got for me? A few ugly horror movie rejects? Did you think that would do anything to me? I'm Uzumaki Naruto, in case you haven't gotten the point yet after all of these years. I could have done that in my sleep." He started walking around on the rooftop of the rather high building he had fled to in order to fight. "What else do you have for me? Come on, I honestly want to know. I've fought scarier stuff when I was 16. Of course, after he finished his anger and adrenaline-induced rant, he noticed all of the cracks in the sky gathering to one spot in the park, where every hollow left in Karakura town began swarming towards the crack. One of the hollows swarming about broke off and flew towards Naruto, trying to devour him. Naruto grit his teeth and drew his right arm back, forming a pure black, almost translucent, orb of spiraling energy in his hand, bringing a loud suction noise from the attack. Inton. Rasengan, in release. Rasengan! Naruto slammed the ball into the mask of the hollow and carved straight through the middle of its body, destroying it. Letting his guard down once more, Naruto broke into a short victory dance. The strongest men of my time trying to take over the world couldn't kill me, nature couldn't kill me, and time couldn't kill me. I'm going to solve this too. You're going to have to send the Shinigami himself to put me down for good. The sound of the sky cracking grew louder than ever before a pair of massive bony fingers peeled back the sky to reveal a gigantic skull mask with a pointy nose bigger than any hollow Naruto had fought thus far. Ra! Naruto shouted angrily, stomping his foot and cursing to himself. Naruto took a deep breath and calmed himself down as he massaged his temple because of the headache this entire day was giving him. Okay, I'll go deal with that too. Why not? I haven't gotten a place to stay while I'm here or even a bite to eat in like 16 hours, but who cares because the sky decided to rain freaky ghosts onto me for the hell of it. Naruto made a ram hand seal with both hands, Shunshin no Jutsu, body flicker jutsu. His body was surrounded by a swirl of wind and leaves before he disappeared from the roof. After a moment, a black cat hopped out from behind an air conditioning unit and looked at where Naruto had once been standing before speaking in a masculine voice. It looks like Kisuke forgot someone when he was rounding those other kids up. And this one seems to know what he's doing, at least as far as the fighting aspect of it goes. After all, he didn't black out, and he's been fighting just as many hollows as the substitute Shinigami and the Quincy. The cat blinked and laughed sheepishly. Oh right. I was supposed to help round up the spiritually aware Kisuke, wasn't I? Oops, I'd better go catch him before I lose him for the time being. The cat ran and jumped off of the side of the building. Rukia stood staring in horror at the sky as the massive hollow pulled its way through the hole in the sky. Khan came up behind her, looking at the exact same sight. What is that huge hollow, Rukia Nizan? Rukia whispered her reply as if she couldn't believe she was seeing it with her own eyes. Menos, a gigantic hollow born from hundreds of hollows piling and mixing together. But I've only ever seen something like this as an illustration in a textbook, the Great Hollow. Menos Grande. Khan simply listened to her as she continued to explain. This is inconceivable for that thing to come out like this. Those are under the jurisdiction of the elite forces. A lone Shinigami couldn't hope to oppose it. The Menos Grande opened its mouth as multiple hollows swarmed around it, and fired off a massive red blast of energy that eradicated all of the hollows caught in the range of fire. The few unlucky ones that got close to its mouth when it decided to shut it wound up being eaten. It's eating its fellow hollows. Yuria cried out in disbelief. He wasn't aware that hollows devoured each other like that, just humans. Ichigo started laughing. There's no way we can figure out how to fight that kind of monster. With this guy dash. He started swinging his massive sword around like a lunatic. We'll cut, and cut, and cut, and cut until we take him down for good. There's no other way. Ichigo then ran off towards the massive hollow. Come on, Ishida. Wait, Kurosaki. Yuri cried out as he followed behind him, not wanting to be left out of the battle. Rukia saw Ichigo run past her towards the Menos, swinging his sword like a berserker. Ichigo? Ichigo, quit it. You can't fight that thing, it'll annihilate you. Before she could try to go after him, a blond man with a scraggly beard, bucket hat, a long cloak draped over his frame, and wooden sandals stood in front of her, blocking her from going after Ichigo. Urahara, what's the meaning of this? She asked him offensively. Are you trying to get Ichigo killed? Of course not. The man replied casually. Rukia shoved him out of the way, then move aside. This isn't an opponent Ichigo can win against. She was stopped when Urahara's hand held her back. Yeah, I can't really do that, Kuchiki-san. He said calmly and coolly. Please just watch quietly. Rukia's body dropped to the ground as if she were frozen. This battle is crucial. As crucial to you as it will be for him. Ichigo drew closer to the Menos Grande and with a battle cry cut into the side of its leg. However, his massive blade only made a small gash before the hollow kicked him off, as if he were an annoyance. Ichigo landed next to Yuri on his back. I told you that wouldn't work, Kurosaki. He fired an arrow at the mask that simply bounced off. Shit. Just as I thought. I can't do any kind of damage at this rate. He looked over at the still downed Ichigo. Are you alright? Ichigo popped right back up with a hearty salute and a smile, although he had a gash bleeding on his forehead. Huh? Yeah, I'm not too bad off. He replied cheerfully. What were you thinking? Yuria asked him, not sure that he really wanted to know the thoughts that filled Ichigo's head. How on earth were you going to take him down with that? Well, Ichigo said thoughtfully, prepared for his explanation. I figured I could cut his feet and work my way all the way up to the head where I could start wailing on the mask since he's so big. Geez, were you dropped on your head at some point or something? Yuria asked as he grabbed Ichigo's sword from him. Now get up. We need to rethink our battle strategy. However, when he did, his bow was overloaded with power. What? He then stared at Ichigo, who was complaining that they didn't even have a plan in the first place. No way. This is Kurosaki's Riryoku, spiritual power? If this is the amount of power he releases unconsciously. Kurosaki. Yuri got Ichigo's attention away from his own mutterings, getting him to look over at him. What do you dash? Whoa, what the hell is that? Why is your bow so huge now? That's not important. Yuri said in response, lying to Ichigo and himself unknowingly, since that was exactly what was important at the time. This may sound like a weird idea, but I know how we can beat him. With Naruto. Naruto sat on a lower building surrounding the park quite a ways away from the Menos as he looked at it, and tried to come up with some sort of strategy before running in and getting his kicked. Okay, only my Yin chakra will work on this stupid thing. And I don't think that the Inton, Rasengan, Yin release, Rasengan, will be enough to put this giant SOB down on the first try. Sigh, and I only thought it was useful to me for seeing ghosts. I never thought I would have to fight them. I guess I should work on that when I get a chance if I get out of this. Naruto punched himself in the head angrily. How did the Rakuta Sannin learn how to use this crap? He didn't even have anyone teaching him, and neither did I. That's why I can only use it with the Rasengan, damn it. Naruto growled to himself. Fine, he said, shutting his eyes before taking up a meditative seating position. If that's how it's going to be, then I'm totally game for it. I know exactly what to do. Naruto let the feeling of the environment's natural energy fill him. There wasn't much to work with, seeing as how he was in the middle of a city far more modernized than the ones that existed in his time, making it more difficult than before, but it would have to do for now. Beggars couldn't be choosers in this case. He cracked an eye when he felt a weight on his shoulder, and saw that a black cat had perched itself there, looking at him curiously. Well, hey there, little buddy, he said with a grin. Are you going to help me out with this? The cat let out a meow as if it could understand him and rubbed up against the side of his head, getting a laugh out of him. Well, that seems like a yes to me. Just hang out with me for a while, little kitty cat, while I get myself all set up for this. Naruto shut his eyes and began meditating. With Ichigo and Yuryu, okay, preparations are complete. Now we can fight him, Yuryu said determinedly and confidently. Yuryu had managed to form an awesomely large bow, rippling with spiritual power. How did he accomplish this instead of having a regular-sized bow? Well, you really are an idiot, aren't you? Ichigo asked. He tied Ichigo's sword to the top of his head while having Ichigo himself hold onto it, and subconsciously generate power for him to use. Stop complaining, Yuryu snapped at him irritably. If I stay in contact with your sword and use your Riryoku, I can shoot an unbelievably enormous arrow. Now go ahead and unleash your power. Control it and max it out. Ichigo looked at him skeptically. But I never control my Riryoku. What? Yuryu said to him in pure disbelief. Don't be ridiculous. How else would you have managed to fight hollows all of this time? No clue, actually, Ichigo said, completely honest. And how should I know? Controlling this stuff is like unleashing it and stopping it, right? It would be easy if I could control it like a water hose or something. If people keep saying my power is great, isn't that because I'm maxing it out all the time? That makes sense, Yuryu thought to himself. But to constantly have his Riryoku maxed out all of the time and not be exhausted. What a monster. The hollow suddenly edged and opened its mouth, forming another of the red beams it had used before, taking aim at Yuryu and Ichigo. Zero, Rukia said helplessly from the sidelines. It's going to use the Zero. Ichigo, run. If that thing hits you, you won't have a chance, you'll be killed. Yuryu pulled his bow up to take aim. Come on, Kurosaki, this is the only way. Connect your sword to my body, Aga dash. He cut himself off when he saw Ichigo running at the Menos Grande once more to attack it. Where do you think you're going? The Menos Grande fired the blast at the incoming Ichigo, who lifted his oversized sword to block it. Ichigo grit his teeth and held out against the energy blast. Yuryu looked on in awe as Ichigo's power began to climb. What the hell is this strong Ryatsu? Spiritual pressure. Kurosaki's getting stronger. He then realized what was happening. No, he was never maxing out his power. If he had been, then eventually it would have dried out. If he can't control his power, it means he wasn't using his power to fight. His Riryoku is always in its lowest state, if any outside force makes him exert any more energy. Yuryu thought to himself as Ichigo countered and slashed back, greatly wounding the Menos Grande. He wounded the hollow. Rukia couldn't believe what she had just seen. A substitute was able to wound a Menos Grande greatly after only 2 months of being on the job and no formal training. It's retreating. The Menos had torn a hole out of the air and was attempting to retreat by climbing back inside. Get back here! I'm not done with you yet. Ichigo yelled at the Menos. I still have to kick your ass. No you don't, you gigantic ugly bastard. A voice unfamiliar to everyone in attendance called out aggressively. A yellow and orange blur ran past Ichigo and Yuryu towards the trees, where it jumped up the sides rapidly before reaching the top of one and, using it like a slingshot, flung itself at the massive hollow. At a closer look, it was a blond boy with an orange jacket flying at the Menos. He formed a cross sign with his fingers in the air, forming a copy of himself, and held out his hand where the copy started generating power. Eat this. Intan. Cho Odama Raisingan. In release. Super Great Ball Spiraling Sphere. A massive black swirling orb twice the size of his entire body immediately formed and crashed into the face of the Menos Grande, bringing it down with a mighty force as it died trying to climb into its portal to leave Karakura town. Ichigo and Yuryu ran over to where an incredible amount of dust was kicked up from the fall of the massive Menos, where they saw the strange blonde dusting himself off with a huge grin on his face, a strange orange pigment around his eyes, and the eyes themselves strangely colored and detailed before they faded, leaving normal bright blue eyes. Man, that felt good, he shouted before sticking his arm out at Yuryu and Ichigo in a thumbs-up gesture. We sure kicked that thing, huh? Ichigo and Yuryu looked at each other before blinking and turning back to him. Yeah, sure. Ichigo decided to ask, wait, you can see me? Who are you supposed to be? Naruto blinked and changed the thumbs up to an extended hand. Well, yeah, I can see you, samurai boy. My name's Naruto, how about yours, Ichigo? How can you see me? I'm supposed to be just a spirit right now. Ichigo wondered to himself, not really expecting an answer. Naruto kept his hand extended for Yuryu, who didn't shake it, causing him to eventually retract it. Well, I saw those gigantic ghost things that were trying to kill me, so why wouldn't I be able to see you? Hollows. Yuryu said matter-of-factly. What you saw and fought were hollows. Huh. Naruto said, storing this information. You learn something new every day, I guess. So what are you two supposed to be anyway? What is this, a cosplay group? Because I don't know what you two are supposed to be like. Yuryu and Ichigo face faulted on the ground before the orange-haired teen stood first, getting in Naruto's face. I'm a substitute Shinigami. What are you supposed to be? How did you finish off that hollow like that? Because I'm awesome. Naruto said with a cheeky grin. And you're a substitute Shinigami? Naruto squinted his eyes and looked long and hard at Ichigo. Okay, I'll play along. Where's the real Shinigami then? Because you look like some school kid. Naruto then dodged a punch from Ichigo, a school kid with a temper problem. And if you must know, and we're all telling each other our occupations here, I'm something of a drifter. A traveling sage, if you will. Yuryu looked at Naruto in a scrutinizing manner. A sage? You don't look like any sage I've ever heard of or seen. Well, how many have you ever seen in person? Naruto fired back with a dry look on his face. Let's see. You probably expected an old man peddling charms or something, right? He got a nod from both Yuryu and Ichigo. That's a stereotype, and stereotyping is wrong. I simply roam about doing good deeds and seeing the world, doing what I can to make money and whatnot. Ichigo pointed at him. You just said you don't peddle charms. I don't. Naruto admitted. Then how do you make money? Ichigo wondered. You don't look like you can do anything dash. What's this? He said as Naruto held an orange book out in front of him that Yuryu took it to inspect. How I make my money? Naruto said proudly, yep, my sensei wrote those. I republished them, and then wrote follow-ups. You can keep that one if you want. The book then connected off of Naruto's face. Ichigo's arm was still extended from the throat while Yuryu was turned away to hide his undignified blush. You wrote that crap? He said furiously. My dad tried to get me to read that smut while he was trying to teach me all of that birds and the bees crap. He said it would explain everything I needed to know, and did it? Naruto asked him, rubbing his face where the book had hit him. I didn't ever need to know that people were capable of some of that stuff. Ichigo said, having flashbacks to the things he read. Naruto nodded wisely. Well, I am a sage. I have a lot of knowledge on a lot of subjects, and that just happened to be one. But those hollow things. I would rather not have to deal with them again. I've been seeing ghosts for years and I've never had to fight with those things before. Naruto's stomach abruptly growled, ugh. I haven't eaten in an entire day. I guess I'll catch you around, Shinigami Ichigo and a random guy with glasses. Ichigo tried to move to stop him. Hey, wait. If you're not a Shinigami or a Quincy, then what dash? Naruto suddenly vanished in a whirlwind of leaves. Are you? He looked where Naruto had been standing before he suddenly lost his balance and fell to the ground. What's happening? Ichigo asked as his sword started changing shape. Yuryu stared at the sword the Zanpakuto is changing shape? No, damn it, I can feel the power from here rushing into me without me even touching it, and it's stronger than before. It's going to explode. Yuri began firing arrows into the sky. I have to take Ichigo's power and stabilize it before giving it back to him until he can calm himself. Ichigo watched Yuri take his power and fire off shot after shot. Eventually his arm holding the bow started to break down from the stress put on it by overuse. Hey, what are you doing? Ichigo asked him. I know what you want to do, but don't overdo it, you'll lose your arm. Shut up, Kurosaki. Yuri yelled as he continued firing arrows, one after another. I told you already that I hate the Shinigami. And you said it yourself. If we don't live, then we won't be able to fight. So you'd better live so that I can beat you. Rukia dropped to her knees after watching the events that had transpired today. Menos appeared and was defeated. Ichigo actually did a great job. Urahara nodded in agreement. Yes, but that other guy that showed up is a strange one. I don't know quite what to make of him, he said to Rukia as a black cat came nearby and made eye contact with him. He grinned and pulled out a fan that he waved in front of his face. Oh well, I guess it really doesn't matter right now. Right now I've got to fix that gigantic crack in the sky. I mean, look at that thing, it's huge. All I do is own a candy shop, and I'm expected to fix this mess? Rukia's sweat dropped and walked away from Urahara to go find Ichigo. Naruto let out a sigh of comfort as he lay down on his hotel bed after a shower. Man, I didn't expect to get into a fight today. Maybe I should take that as a sign and move along faster than usual. Too bad though, I kind of like this place. If it weren't for the hollow monsters that seem to swarm this place, and the fake Shinigami, I'd say this place is pretty cool. Meow. Naruto turned his head towards an open window where he saw the same black cat from earlier standing on the sill, looking at him intently. Well, hey there. I have no idea how you found me or why you would look for me, but feel free to hang out for as long as you want. He laid down on his back and looked up at the ceiling. I've got absolutely nothing important going on, and I like animals. The cat hopped down off of the sill and made its way over to Naruto's bed, where it hopped up and lay down right next to him. Very long day, he said to the cat and himself as his eyes began to close. I can see how you would think that. Still, you did quite well. Naruto's eyes slowly opened at the sound of the deep voice inside of the room. His eyes looked around before settling on the cat next to him that had a single eye open. Okay. I didn't sense anyone else entering this room, and no one has properly snuck up on me in forever. I also don't sense any ill intent from you. So I'm going to say that you were the one that just said that. The cat's eye rose as if it was questioning his sanity. You don't seem surprised that a cat spoke to you, it said in the deep voice that he had heard, confirming his theory. Naruto scratched his nose. You aren't the first talking animal I've seen before. And the fact that you didn't try to slice me up or eat me alive before you said anything makes you cool with me. Like I said, I like animals. He finished, scratching the cat behind its ears. So do you have a name, talking cat? And what can I do for you today? If you think I can help, then your resident traveling sage Uzumaki Naruto is at your service. The cat got up and jumped onto his chest. I wasn't aware that one of the abilities of a human sage was the ability to see and slay hollows. I'm special, Naruto said with a grin. Well then. The cat said. Urahara was only focusing on the humans that were around that Kurosaki kid. I know why he did, but he almost missed a diamond in the rough. My name is Yoruichi, by the way. Naruto nodded, committing the name to memory. How couldn't he? It wasn't like he met talking cats everywhere he went, especially these days. Well then, Yoruichi, you said something about me being a diamond in the rough. For what? Tell me. Yoruichi said. You didn't seem to really know what you were doing or what you were fighting, but you were either surprised, nor caught off guard when it came to the fighting itself. Do you know what you did? Do you? Naruto asked back, allowing Yoruichi to jump off of him so that he could sit up. But I'll tell you what I did. I used something that humans don't acknowledge anymore called chakra. Well, not really chakra, one part of chakra. The spiritual half, in chakra. Chakra? Yoruichi said calmly. The cat sounded like it wanted to dispute him, but hearing that he really sounded like he knew what he was talking about, prompted the feline to stay quiet and let him talk. Naruto nodded. Chakra is the combination of the physical and spiritual energies of the body. Yang chakra would be the physical portion, Yin chakra would be the spiritual. I'm so in tune with my Yin chakra that I could start seeing ghosts. I've never been attacked by a hollow until today though, but I am very skilled at fighting. Not so much with just the Yin chakra though. He's never been attacked by a hollow before? Yoruichi thought in disbelief, then how does he know how to fight them? Well, I have to tell you that what you call Yin chakra has a name. It's called Riryoku. Naruto took that information in with a smile. Riryoku, got it. I've been waiting forever to hear someone else come up with a name for Yin chakra. They already renamed it Yang chakra. Ki is the most common name for that. But sorry, you were talking, keep going. Thank you? Yoruichi said before continuing, but I have to say. You claim to be intimately familiar with your Riryoku but you don't exactly know how to use it? Naruto nodded. However, that one attack you used on the Menos was incredible for one such as you. Yoruichi saw him giving a deer in the headlights look and gave him a deadpan look in return. The giant hollow from the park. Yoruichi let off a sweat drop once his face registered the reference, and gave a thumbs up anyway. The amount of energy output from that one attack was staggering. You used just as much Riryoku as a lieutenant, and you seem to be in incredible control of it. Lieutenant? Naruto said in a puzzled manner. Lieutenant of what? Oh. Yoruichi replied, embarrassed at the slip, a lieutenant-level Shinigami. That's a very strong level. Naruto was now giving the cat a squinted-eyes look. Oh, now what's with that face? That was a compliment. Naruto stared the cat down before scratching his cheek. This isn't the first time I've heard this Shinigami stuff, you know. Earlier today some kid with orange hair and a big sword said he was a substitute Shinigami. And now you're talking about levels of Shinigami. All of this implies that there's more than one Shinigami, and I only know of one. He looked around his room, lifting pillows and checking his lampshade. Am I being punked? Do they even have that in this country? Yoruichi watched the blonde dart about, looking for hidden cameras, for a few minutes before finally speaking to him with the utmost seriousness. So how much do you actually want to know? Yoruichi's words stopped Naruto as he dug through the drawer provided by the hotel so that he could look at the cat. It sounds like I'm giving you a choice, but you can't just select and choose in this instance. You're already involved. You have been ever since you killed your first hollow here. Even if you don't want to know anymore, even if you don't want to listen to another word, I have to say you're already involved. By now, Naruto was returning the hardened look that Yoruichi was giving him. Something that surprised the cat greatly but did not stop the lecture. All that's left is to deny it or embrace it, because you Uzumaki Naruto are spiritually aware, and there's nothing you can do about that now. Now you can either listen to what I have to say and accept everything that comes with it, or turn away from it, and everything that you would have found out about will still happen around you. You just won't be prepared for any of it. So will you listen, or will you send this poor helpless kitty cat out into the cold, cold night? A sweat drop formed on Naruto's head as Yoruichi made it quite clear that the serious moment was over. Naruto stood, stroking his chin in thought before pacing back and forth. Okay, let's weigh the positives against the negatives here. Negatives would be me getting into something that I have no earthly business learning anything about. Me having to probably fight a ton more of those hollow things. Me probably having to stay around here until you say I can leave once I start getting involved. Me making really strong enemies. Something that I've done a very good job of avoiding for a long time, mind you. And me having to, learn. He let out a gulp of fear. The positives? Yoruichi asked him amusedly. Naruto grinned at the cat and started listing things off on his fingers. Positives. I was very bored until today. I'm a nosy bastard, so I actually do want to know this stuff. I'll probably have to fight more of those hollow things anyway, no matter how I feel about it, so knowing more about what they are exactly would be great. I'll have to stay around here, but on the other hand, I've been very lonely for a long time, and you seem like entertaining company, so I don't think I'll mind setting up shop for the time being. He saw Yoruichi give him a toothy grin in response. I haven't had a good fight in who knows how long. And the enemies I seem to attract, well, existence by and large would be better without them. So what do you think? Yoruichi asked him, trying to hide excitement poorly. Naruto gave Yoruichi a grave look that seemed to unnerve the feline slightly. What do I think? A cat comes up to me and tries to intimidate/reason me into something weird like this, and you want to know what I think? I think, he said ominously before breaking into another grin, I'm in. He extended his hand to Yoruichi, who placed a paw in it so that they could shake. Yoruichi hopped down from the bed after the hand/paw shake was complete. Alright then. If you are really in as you say, then I'll find you to get started later at some point. Well, now that that's settled, it has been a long day like you said before, and I would like to clean myself. Naruto blinked in confusion. Didn't cats usually just lick themselves and leave it at that? Well, Yoruichi could talk like a human and he knew other creatures that bathe like humans, so why not? He replied in an unsure fashion as he walked over to his travel bag, going through his things. Go ahead. Do you need anything? Or do you need me to help you out? He asked, trying to be helpful. No, that's not really necessary. Naruto's eyes snapped wide open at the sound of a female voice filling his room. But he never felt Yoruichi's presence leave, nor did he feel anyone else enter the room. What the hell? He turned around and got an eyeful of a dark-skinned woman with long purple hair walking into his bathroom. Oh, and she was as well. Yoruichi looked over her shoulder from the door at Naruto, who had his jaw hanging quite slack at what he was seeing. Oh, in case you didn't know, I'm a woman. Good to know, right? She laughed when she saw Naruto nod dumbly, unable to take his eyes off of her. Thanks for the use of the shower, Naruto-kun, she said in a teasing manner. Naruto simply gave her a half-hearted thumbs up while still staring at her. She shut the door behind herself and turned the shower on. Yes, Urahara might have found all of Ichigo's friends, but I've got myself an ace in the hole. Naruto stood staring at his bathroom door as the sound of water ran freely, letting him know this was definitely not a dream. It wasn't the transforming thing that shocked him, he could do that stuff himself. It was the fact that she transformed in front of him. Needless to say, it had been a long time for Naruto in a certain department. He wordlessly reached down into his bag and pulled out a notepad before quickly scribbling down what he had seen inside of it. This is going to sell me 1,000,000 freaking copies, I swear to Kami. Hot Catwoman sneaking into the protagonist's hotel room for such and such. Man, I can see why Erosenin did this. This stuff writes itself. A small trickle of blood came from his nose. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. Age I forget. Hometown, Kanahigakure no Sato. Never heard of it? Don't worry about it, I can guarantee that you've never heard of it. It would scare me if you actually have. Likes, ramen, finding something cool to do, pulling pranks, coming up with cool new aliases to use, seeing if any of my old aliases are famous for anything, protecting the weak, the spots of true untainted nature that I can still find these days, freaking people out with any of my jutsu, and orange. Dislikes. The time it takes to cook ramen, I mean, you'd think by now they would have fixed that and made it instantaneous, right? Fresh vegetables, people with superior attitudes for no reason, bigots. And I think spirits and overall spiritual things are starting to make their way onto this list. Shinigami, hollows, pluses, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, they're definitely working their way onto the list. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I have no idea what the hell is going on. After being alive for hundreds of years, learning everything I could about life and coming to terms with all of it, I am certain that I'm about to find out that I now know only one thing for sure. For all I've seen and done, for all my knowledge and experience about life, I don't know shit about death. Believe it? God damn it, I thought I'd fixed that by now. Naruto found himself wandering about Karakura town, wondering when Yoruichi was going to find him. It had only been a few days since Naruto arrived abruptly in town and ended up thrown directly into the gigantic battle royale with the hollows, and he hadn't seen hide nor hair of Yoruichi since she had found her way into his hotel room and gave him a memory he was certain he wasn't going to lose for quite some time. She said she was going to explain all of this stuff to him, but so far the only thing he understood was what he deduced for himself, that hollows were just violent ghosts that ate people's souls and wanted him dead, in particular because people that could see spirits were apparently something of a delicacy to them. How fun. So here he was trying to explore what he expected to be his new stomping grounds for the time being. It was a nice day. He had a full stomach from the breakfast that was served at his hotel, and he was looking for something to occupy his time until he could find Yoruichi again. For a woman that was so hot, she sure was hard to find. Maybe the part about her keeping a transformation as a black cat was what made it so hard. His clones had been all over the town looking for her, and didn't find anything. Hey kid! Naruto heard a shout coming from behind him. Yeah, you! Blondie! You're the only blonde guy out here, so you know I'm talking to you. Naruto looked around and saw the people on the street staring at him. He sincerely hoped that one of those gangs he had been ignoring and laughing in his head didn't want to make a scene. You called for me? Naruto asked as he turned around and came face to face with a police officer. Can I help you? The cop looked at Naruto sternly, confusing him greatly. Naruto hadn't done anything since coming to Karakura town. Well, anything illegal that anyone could actually prove. He wasn't sure if waging a pitched battle in the middle of town with a gigantic monster was illegal or not, but he was sure it wasn't, and besides, most people couldn't even see it, so he was sure he was covered on that front. Hell, he hadn't even jaywalked, and the temptation to jump over the traffic instead of waiting for the light to turn ate at him regularly. As far as he could see, he was a law-abiding citizen. What are you doing? The cop asked Naruto. Naruto looked around as if he would see the answer in the air before shrugging in defeat. I don't know. What am I doing, officer? The man narrowed his eyes at Naruto and pointed to the side, across the street at a high school. You're supposed to be in there. If you're going to skip school, don't walk in front of the school you're supposed to be attending. Naruto's eyes widened in understanding as he pulled out his wallet and handed over an ID, trying to work his way out of this pickle. And it would have worked if he had actually been paying better attention and been more careful when making his most recent ID for the country he was in. Alright kid, get in there. Naruto's jaw dropped. What? Why? You can't just ditch when you feel like it. Now get in there already. The officer started pushing Naruto across the street. Naruto was too stunned to even offer any defense against what was happening. He looked at his ID and felt like slapping himself. Not only did he set his birth date so that he was under the age of 18, he also registered himself as a high school student, not a homeschooled person as was his usual out when he had prolonged stays in Japan. Naruto was mentally kicking his own as he was walking inside the building. Damn. I should have just started speaking English. People think I'm American all the time. He would have thought I was a tourist. School truly held no purpose for Naruto. Language courses? Naruto knew every language that was useful to him. He needed them to freely move around. History? He had been around for everything important enough to actually remember, so what good would that class do him? Math? Well, who needed math? As long as he could do basic stuff, who cared about anything else? He could still count all of those zeros on his check that he got for repeatedly selling his books. How many accounts did he have again? Man, he needed to check all of those things. With the money he had in there, he knew he would have gotten some kick interest, and there was never dash. Okay kid, get dressed in this uniform. You've missed enough class. The officer said, throwing a uniform at Naruto after pushing him into the bathroom. Don't you have crimes to stop or something? Naruto cried indignantly. I don't want to be here. The officer shook his head. Sorry kid, I'm a truant officer. It's my job. Now what's your schedule? I don't have one, damn it. Naruto cried, changing into his uniform for some reason that he couldn't understand. Maybe because he couldn't really substitute himself with a clone and escape without blowing his cover. The last time people figured out he could use chakra, well, let's just say he hadn't run that fast in a long time. You never even showed up to school to get your schedule? How irresponsible, he cried, grabbing Naruto's arm after Naruto finished changing and stuffed his clothes in his bag. Come on, I know where you should go with kids in your grade. You look about 16. Naruto was visibly crying now. When he wanted something to do, he meant something fun. School was not fun. Hell, the Shinobi Academy in Konoha was more fun than the schools that popped up throughout history after his era ended. And students had to stay in the system longer as well. And he wasn't even going to get started on college. I'm not 16, I'm dash. Wait. How old am I? Damn, okay, let's see. 16 multiplied by dash dot. He thought to himself before a door was slid open and he was tossed inside. Naruto landed on his face in front of a desk at the head of the class as the officer dusted off his hands. Sorry for interrupting your class, Oki-sensei, but I caught this kid skipping and he doesn't even know what class he's in. I thought I could drop him here until I spoke with the principal about him. A young woman turned from the chalkboard, looking at Naruto, who was glaring at the officer and muttering what she assumed were curses under his breath. That's okay, Officer Honda. I can keep him here for the time being. She smiled at Naruto, Who knows, he might even be in my class to begin with. Naruto rolled his eyes and stood up off of the floor. Why don't you introduce yourself to the class? Naruto finished dusting himself off and coughed into his hand to salvage what little dignity he had left. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. Nice to meet you. One rather loud boy with shoulder-length brown hair looked at Naruto. Is that it? Come on man, you've got to tell us more than that. Like how old are you, or where are you from, or what's with those marks on your cheeks? Are they tattoos? Naruto looked at someone, shushed the boy that was identified as Ichigo, and decided to humor him. Fine. I'm as old as all of you think I am. The marks on my cheeks aren't tattoos, they're birthmarks? Who the hell tattoos whiskers on their cheeks, by the way? And my hometown? I'm from a little town called None of Your Goddamn Business. A ruler smacked the side of his head abruptly. Ow. He said dully. Okay Uzumaki-san, take a seat. Oki-sensei said to him, a tick mark on the side of her head at his use of vulgar language. That seat in the corner is vacant. Naruto shot an okay sign to the teacher, and quickly made his way to his seat to allow her to continue teaching. He of course did not pay attention to a single word she said, as after this was all over he would never be caught within a square mile of this school again. Instead he chose to look around the class and imagine his surprise when he saw two very familiar people. Two of the three people he had actually met while in Karakura town, Ichigo and kid with the glasses whose name he never got. Ichigo of course had easily registered his presence, and had been looking at him alongside a smaller girl with black hair that was sitting next to him. On the other hand, Yuri was trying to ignore him and failing miserably in the process. Naruto waved cheekily at Ichigo, getting a sweat drop out of him and the girl next to him before they turned back around, leaving him to his own devices. Uzumaki-san. Naruto's attention was directed towards the board before he could attempt to find an opening to switch places with a clone and leave. Everybody kept looking at him and he couldn't find time to make a quick clone, let alone cause enough of a distraction to use it as his decoy. Could you translate the sentence on the board? Naruto looked at the sentence intended and squinted at it. To what? His question got a round of laughs from around the class, pissing him off somewhat. That was a legitimate question. He didn't know what class this was. To English. Please translate it if you would. Naruto could tell that he was starting to upset the teacher by being so belligerent, and decided to comply. It wasn't her fault he was stuck there. She was just doing her job. He nodded and looked at the board before flawlessly speaking in some dialect that no one had ever heard before. After realizing what he had said, he slapped his hand to his mouth. Crap. That was Old English. Stupid shifting vernacular. Pick an exact dialect and stick with it. He laughed nervously and attempted again. I mean, it would be a good idea to go on a nice trip today. Oki-sensei stared at him for a moment with a questioningly tilted eyebrow before letting it slide. He did answer the question after all. Very good Uzumaki-san. Even though you haven't been in school, you show a good amount of grasp on the language. Having dodged a bullet of sorts for the time being, Naruto decided that if he wasn't going to be doing anything anyway, he might as well be doing a form of nothing that was useful to him. Making himself completely still and drowning out everything around him, he began to meditate, and try to get more in touch with Karakura town's natural energy. It didn't help much against the hollows until he started using Yin chakra and needed a knockout punch. But now that he knew what worked, he could begin finding ways to develop variants to use it. How he was going to do that was anyone's guess. But he made a living off of pulling off things that people didn't think were possible. A loud ringing of a bell stirred him from his trance, and as the students filed out of the room, he noticed one thing about school that might actually make him come back in the near future. Those school uniforms for girls could be a fantastic source of research. Naruto then smirked to himself. He was all alone in the room and had a chance now. Making a quick clone and giving it marching orders to continue with what he was doing, or, more importantly, gather some research if the opportunity presented itself. He opened the window and jumped out, escaping Karakura High School without a second thought. Hours later, sunset. After changing back into his street clothes, Naruto took to keeping to the rooftops of the town so that he didn't get pulled aside by another truant officer out busting students, or any person his age that looked like they should have been in school. For Naruto, the next bit of business he had to address was where he was going to train for the duration of his stay in Karakura town. If he was going to be doing all of this hollow fighting, he needed to learn how to actually fight them. He wasn't simple enough to believe that every time something like that giant hollow he, Ichigo, and Yuria put down the other day showed up he could just solve everything with a Rasengan, and that would be that. Nor did he believe that the hollow they fought was as strong as they got. Because let's face it, his luck was simply not that good. The other day while looking for Yoruichi with his Kage bunch and they stumbled upon a rather promising spot that he was heading over to check out. As he arrived he looked around. He found himself in an old graveyard. It worked for him because it was at the edge of town, and upon closer inspection it was perfect for him. The last person buried there had been placed there over 50 years ago, meaning that pretty much no one was going to come around to bother him. Finding a clearing nearby after a short walk through a forest so that he didn't end up disturbing the graves, he stood around taking in his surroundings. Okay, Yin Chakra, or Riryoku, or whatever I'm supposed to call it these days. I know what it feels like specifically, Naruto said as he channeled some to his hand. Were anyone else other than those that were spiritually aware watching they would have seen nothing, but to Naruto it appeared as if his hand was covered in a white ethereal glow. Now chakra is half this stuff and half physical energy. I can hit hollows with my ninjutsu, but it doesn't hurt them like it would a living creature, he said quietly to himself as if he were trying to explain a theory to himself. It should hurt a Shinigami though. Naruto smirked at the sound of Yoruichi's voice. Ha, I knew you were coming this time. No sneaking up on me today, he said, turning around to face the golden-eyed woman who much to both his pleasure and disappointment was clothed this time. Her purple hair was done up in a ponytail, and she wore an orange shirt with 2 straps over the shoulders. A black shirt underneath that he could see through the neckline of her first shirt, a large beige sash around her waist, tight black pants, long beige wrist warmers, long beige leg warmers, and light brown shoes. Yoruichi walked up to Naruto with a smirk on her face. I wasn't trying this time though, was I? Naruto shook his head. Maybe, but the fact remains, it has been a long time since anyone has successfully gotten the drop on Uzumaki Naruto. He pointed at a nearby tree at the edge of the clearing. I'm also never alone. Yoruichi followed where he was pointing to see another Naruto pop out of the top of the tree and wave at her before disappearing in a puff of smoke. She looked at him appraisingly. You have very interesting powers. Naruto grinned at her before he let it slip, maybe to humans. But to spirits I only have one move that I know for sure will work. Yoruichi shook her head. You don't know that for sure, and there's only one way to find out for yourself. You need to find a Shinigami and fight one. Naruto gave her a dry look. Yes, because I'm so looking forward to facing off against the embodiments of death, he said sarcastically. Despite a tumultuous and violent start to my life, the vast majority of it has been rather peaceful, and I like that. I really don't feel like going and picking a fight with the only things that I think would be up to the task of killing me. Maybe I can see if that Ichigo kid wants to go a few rounds so I can find out. But other than that I would rather not. Who said Ichigo was the only Shinigami you knew? Naruto looked at Yoruichi, who was grinning like the cat who swallowed the canary. You seem like you're pretty confident in yourself as a warrior. Why do you think you wouldn't be able to match a Shinigami? Because even the strongest shinobi that I grew up around in my time feared and respected the power of the Shinigami, Naruto said, slightly on edge now that he knew Yoruichi was a Shinigami. Even if you guys aren't really the one we thought you were, you still carry the name of the Harbinger of Death, and you can't run away from death. No matter how strong you are or no matter how long you've lived. If you guys really are Shinigami, then I think there's a reason that I'm meeting you now. He let out a sigh. I guess my ticket is finally up, huh? Yoruichi blinked and tilted her head to the side. What was he talking about? What do you mean? You think I'm going to kill you? Naruto nodded before lowering his head. Aren't you? I mean, I know what you are, and here we are in the middle of nowhere. I'm not really scared or anything. I've lived long enough. But can you make it not hurt, please? You think Dash? You've lived, Dash? Yoruichi was truly confused by what he was talking about. You're so stupid, Yoruichi said before slamming her fist into the side of his face. Now she really didn't look at it, but Yoruichi hit it hard. Very hard. He hadn't been hit nearly that hard in an uncountable number of years and almost forgot how to take a punch like that and get up. But some things you never forget, and good fighters never forget things like that. Naruto peeled himself off of the side of the tree his spine had compressed against, and wiped his bloody lip, looking at Yoruichi, who seemed angry at him. What the hell was that for? Yoruichi shouted back at him. What the hell do you mean? You're talking like you want to die or something. I'm not going to kill you, idiot. I never was. I'm not an active Shinigami in Godai 13. The what? Naruto stored that name in the back of his head to ask about later. Well, if you're not here to kill me, then what do you want with me? I'm going to need your help soon. Yoruichi admitted, but first we need to talk. What do you mean you've lived long enough? You're still a kid. Naruto laughed nervously. Not really. I'm older than I look. So you're not 16? Yoruichi could see that. She had seen tons of people that aged gracefully in the realm of the living in her lifetime. So how old are you? 30? Naruto shook his head, starting to be entertained by this. Start multiplying. Yoruichi narrowed her eyes. I thought you said you weren't a Shinigami. Naruto shrugged. I didn't lie, I'm not. I'm immortal. He saw her looking at him as if he was lying to her face. It's very complicated. I have a very potent life force, mixed with being completely in tune with nature on a symbiotic level, mixed with the greatest immune system ever conceived and regenerative powers, mixed with having an all-powerful being stuck inside of me sleeping peacefully. All of those things combined made me unable to die by natural causes. Yoruichi couldn't find a hint of a lie or humor in anything he said. He was completely serious. So how old are you? Naruto grinned at her. How old are you? I don't feel comfortable answering that to you, Naruto Jizen. Yoruichi replied rather passively. Naruto dug into his ear unreceptive. Meh. Whatever you say, Yoruichi Bacon. He felt Yoruichi stiffen in offense at what he called her. Hey, I don't know for sure how old you are, so why can you call me that and I can't do the same? I'm pretty sure Shinigami don't die, so who knows how old you are? Yoruichi's eyes shone over in rage. I'm not that old, I'm only dash. She stopped as soon as she saw the teasing smirk on Naruto's face and calmed herself. And Shinigami do die. They just live far longer than humans do. Naruto queried an eyebrow. How do spirits die? What happens after they die? He suddenly started waving his hands. Actually, never mind. I don't want to know. I haven't even died once yet. I don't need to find out too much before my time comes. That's bad luck. You'll think otherwise sooner rather than later. Well, anyway, I'm going to be kicking you all day today, Yoruichi said with a wide grin. What? Naruto didn't want to fight Yoruichi. There were other physical things that he felt himself wanting to do with her, but fighting wasn't one of them. I mean, one of them might get hurt doing what he wanted to do, but it would have been a good kind of hurt. Why? Yoruichi placed her hands on her hips. Because I don't know what your powers are and I need you to be ready for battle soon. Very soon. You're going to be my secret weapon and I want to make sure you're ready. I want to know exactly what you're capable of so that I know how to train you. Now get ready, she said with a smile, getting into a ready stance. Naruto backed up defensively. Wait, don't I get a choice in this? Nope. Yoruichi chirped happily before blurring out of Naruto's sight. Shit, she's the fastest person I've seen in forever. Was the thought that snapped through Naruto's head like a lightning bolt as he set himself up to block a kick from Yoruichi with his right forearm. That hurt. What's she made of, diamonds? You blocked my kick, Yoruichi said, grinning at the prospect of possibly using more skill than she thought she would need for this fight. You either have very good reflexes, are very fast, or both. Naruto found a way to grin back through the throbbing pain in his arm. It didn't matter though. In a few seconds it would be as good as new. I'm the fastest man alive, Yoruichi. He threw her off of his arm. And I would say that my reflexes, because I'm always taking more damage than I should. With that, he blurred from her sight, getting a pleased laugh from her before she did the same to match him. As the two clashed repeatedly all over the field, they realized something about the other. Yoruichi found that Naruto was incredibly talented in hand-to-hand. Despite not being trained in Hakutas, she found he was gleefully matching her hit for hit all across the board. She was never able to get him with any feints, and she was almost caught a few times by him due to his attacking from seemingly unpredictable angles with wild, but seemingly intended patterns. Naruto blocked another high kick from Yoruichi and tried pulling her towards him to disrupt her balance until she jumped towards him and kicked with her free leg, forcing him to let go of her other one to block that one. The force of the attack drove him back and let Yoruichi land on her feet safely before coming at him with another attack of her own. Naruto's strategy devolved into him using his own speed to make her miss him when she attacked, because as fast as she wasn't that much faster than him, and when moving that fast one would get tunnel vision. As long as he didn't directly engage her, and was fast enough to avoid her, he could eventually wear her down. Naruto, despite not being a hand-to-hand savant while he had been a shinobi, had lived for enough lifetimes to soak up experience fighting against more styles of combat than anyone else, period. He even ran through a phase where he would travel around challenging dojos and fighting schools just for kicks. He later slapped himself a few years back. If he had waited, he could have made quite a bit of money off of fighting, but he didn't need to be that kind of famous. The point was, because he used it more than any other aspect of his abilities and because of centuries of harnessing his skills through one way or another, Naruto could safely say that his skill with taijutsu was neck and neck with his skill in ninjutsu. Yoruichi watched Naruto slip her attacks and evade her. Even when she was subconsciously stepping up her speed, how does a regular human get so fast? I've never heard of anything like this in my entire life. I actually have to start stepping it up here, she thought when she felt the air from one of Naruto's counter-punches rip past her head. Naruto doubled over when Yoruichi deposited her elbow into his belly. Before he could retaliate, he ended up taking a hard kick to the side of his head, sending him tumbling along the ground. What just happened? Did she flip a switch or what? Yoruichi bent over to look down on Naruto. The way I was moving so fast is called shunpa, flash steps, a speed technique that a lot of Shinigami know. I haven't used it in quite some while though. No human eye can keep up with it, so don't feel bad. It took me quite a while to actually get you. I had to take more steps to reach you. I guess I'm out of practice. Naruto spun to his feet with a whirlwind of a kick that got Yoruichi to jump back. I haven't had to use this in forever. I hope you aren't as rusty as you think you are, Yoruichi, because you're not the only one with a speed technique. My dad had one faster than your move, way faster, but I could never master it. I still can't, so I found my own way to outclass people with speed. I never really used it in a fight though. No one was around that needed me to try it on. Yoruichi's eyes widened. You're just a human and you can move even faster than this? What kind of mortal are you supposed to be? Naruto wiped the scuff marks off of his face. How good of an eye do the Shinigami keep watch on the world? Yoruichi felt no harm in answering his question. We're not gods. We simply keep the balance of souls by escorting those that have trouble passing on to the Soul Society, as well as protect the world of the living from hollows. We don't interfere with anything unless it would disrupt the balance of souls, but that hasn't happened on a wide scale in about 1,200 years. Most of the time the problems solve themselves. The last potential event, not counting the Quincy incident 200 years ago, occurred over 500 years ago and was solved before anyone could even begin to mobilize anything to check it out. Naruto laughed. Yeah, because I was the one that solved them. I've been the one settling all of that stuff, Yoruichi, and the older I got the better I became at handling mortal business. It's clockwork now for me. You Shinigami need to be paying me a retainer. I've been doing your job since I was 16. Hell, if that's part of your job, then I might as well be a Shinigami myself. Yoruichi gaped at him before snapping at him angrily. Damn it, how old are you? You're being really cryptic and anal about this. Naruto chuckled. Why don't cut me open and count the rings? You'll be here all day. I've always been there, doing my best to keep the peace or at the very least help peace along from the shadows. Do you want an example? I'll give you a recent one. Yoruichi nodded, if you would, because I have a hard time believing that one man governed the affairs of the entire world. Naruto smirked. Fine. During World War II, or as I like to call it, the big violent waste of my time and effort, stuff kept happening to fighter planes and bombers. Stuff no one could explain. If it was going to end too many lives on one side or another and I knew about it, I or a clone of mine would be there to stop it with sabotage. The British called the accidents the work of gremlins. He then looked away. I couldn't do everything though. If I knew about atomic weapons beforehand, those plans would have been lost forever. You say Shinigami aren't gods. Well, neither am I. I've been getting reminders again and again of that fact. I might as well not be here the way things still are. For everything I stop, 5 more problems pop up and people keep going about killing each other. Yoruichi could see the sorrow in his eyes at this fact. If what he said was true, then not only was he an incredible hero for doing what he could for the world, he had also seen firsthand the most horrible tragedies and losses of life mortals could muster. How his eyes still seemed so bright and exuberant after such a grim existence was beyond her. And once again, just like that, his eyes brightened up once they locked with hers again. Come on, Yoruichi, I'm starting to feel loosened up. Use me to get yourself back up to snuff, I can take it. Because I have to do it too, I haven't had a fight against someone that could kick me in centuries. He gestured for her to bring it on. Go as fast as you think you can handle. That's not a good idea, she said apprehensively. You're way stronger than I figured you for. But if I started going all out against you, I don't think you would last too long. Fine, Naruto said, getting her to calm down. He saw there was no need for a full-scale fight. Then I'll just make you change that tune. Crap. He was bluffing, right? Let's see how fast you really are, kitty cats. I hope you like this because it took me a few hundred years to learn how to do it. Check out Swift Release, Jinton Meisho, Swift Release, Shadowless Flight. Naruto's body vanished in an afterimage before Yoruichi felt a sharp pain in her stomach that sent her sliding back until she grounded her feet into the soil, stopping herself. Naruto stood back in front of her. Okay, I get the point. No more taking it easy on you, but I'm still faster than you. Naruto blurred from sight again as his voice echoed all around her. Show me then. Yoruichi laughed as she felt her fingers twitch in anticipation. I'm the greatest Hohu, fast movement, user in the Soul Society. Do you really think I can't keep up? I'm insulted. Don't be insulted, a multitude of voices said before many blurs flew from the trees surrounding them. Yoruichi was wondering if Naruto was really just that fast enough to have multiple after images. She wasn't that fast. She didn't know anyone that fast, and it was scary. However, she then noticed that each image of Naruto had shadows and smirked. After seeing you take me on with your techniques, I have to say I'm changing my mind about being insulted. Come and get us then. The 50 or so Naruto clones around her echoed as one. They soon would wish that they hadn't, as many of them were destroyed before they even knew what had hit them. The others lasted just long enough to marvel at how fast Yoruichi could be, as the stationary copies only saw Yoruichi stop long enough in motion after beating a clone with pure physical combat, and moving on to the next in less than the blink of an eye. The field was filled with smoke as she finished beating all of his clones. I hope the real you wasn't in there because I might have killed you if you were. Naruto appeared back in front of her with a huge grin on his face. Okay, you're still faster than me. I was dodging and switching places with my clones all through that and still barely got away. They can't use swift release. But I'm not done yet. Let's see how you like this dash. Yoruichi squinted when she saw his eyes turn into a swirl pattern but didn't have time to ask about it. Banzho Tenin, heavenly attraction of all creation. Yoruichi felt what was going to happen before it took effect as Naruto stuck his hand out and gestured towards himself. She felt a pull on her body and immediately turned around to get the hell out of dodge, but found herself moving at the speed of a normal human wading through mud. Why are you so fast? Naruto asked himself as he felt her strain against his gravitational attack. He just couldn't reel her in close. You have so much momentum I can't even pull you towards me an inch. On the contrary, for all of the chakra he was pumping out just to get his attack to stay active, she was actually gaining ground away from him. He eventually let go of Yoruichi and let her dart off so fast he only heard a crack of air and saw nothing. But after hearing the groan of a tree and seeing a heavy footprint on it, he could guess what she was going to do next and prepared himself accordingly. Come on, how high did you jump? Damn, okay, 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6 . He could see a small speck in the sky steadily becoming bigger. Even if he dodged, the amount of force she would generate would destroy the area. And he wasn't having that happen. He didn't feel like looking for a new place to train that had this much nature abound. He liked this place. Thus he hunkered down and prepared for the worst. -5, 4, 3, 2 -- He could see the intent look on her face as she hurtled from the sky with her leg up and ready for a heel drop. -1, 0. Shinra Tensei. Heavenly subjugation of the omnipresent god. Yoruichi almost lost control when Naruto let her go from his attraction technique. But she quickly recovered and decided to actually use that momentum for something. To kick off of a tree and take him out. If she had just jumped back off of the tree at Naruto, it would have given out. So she used it to jump into the air. Even if he moved, he would still wind up getting caught with something unless he was a coward and would flee the entire clearing altogether in order to avoid it. And as she guessed, he did not. He simply stood there with a frantic look on his face, as if he were waiting for something. Then he shouted his attack. All of Yoruichi's speed and combined momentum clashed with Naruto's outwards gravity attack. How much force did he generate with his maneuver? Well, it was incredibly focused on just her. But the force behind it clashing with the force of her kicking power ended up blowing the tree leaves all about as if they were the center of a hurricane. Any longer, and the trees would begin coming out of the ground by their roots. Yoruichi and Naruto bounced away from one another due to the conflicting forces. Naruto found himself smashed firmly into a human-sized hole in the ground. Yoruichi, on the other hand, was flung high back into the air, tumbling in a corkscrew motion until landing on her feet looking at the hole that Naruto had neatly deposited himself in. She winced sharply as she stood back up straight from her landing crouch. That was really rough on my legs. I can't remember ever kicking anything harder than that. But it was pure gravitational pressure. Naruto pulled himself out of the hole slowly, covered in dirt and rocks, and staggered slightly on his feet in front of Yoruichi. I hate using the Rinnegan. It gives me migraines from hell. His nose started bleeding steadily. Crap, he said right before vomiting on the ground and dropping to his knees. Yoruichi ran over to him to find him on all fours breathing heavily. Are you alright? Naruto took multiple deep breaths before looking up at her, the blood from his nose leaking. Yeah, fine. I'm just very rusty. I haven't used swift release or any of my special Rinnegan techniques in forever. Using the Rinnegan without using Sage mode is a killer. You could have gone further? Yoruichi asked in a disbelieving voice. Naruto nodded and sat back on his knees to look at her properly. You could have too. Don't patronize me. I can see when people are stronger than they want me to see. You did just enough to keep pace with me. Yoruichi smiled guiltily. Well, I couldn't just start shooting Kido all over the field. I might just end up killing my secret weapon before I even see what he's capable of. Besides, you don't need to see any of my aces yet. They aren't exactly meant for friendly competition. Likewise, Naruto said before rolling over to the side to avoid falling out in his puke. Kami, I'm so out of shape. The effects of not having your life threatened on a regular basis, I assume. He looked up at the sky and the dark sky of nightfall in a tired manner before kicking his legs to his chest and springing to his feet. Okay, let's keep going. I'm ready when you are. We're done. Yoruichi said happily. We already know that your techniques can work on a Shinigami. Your attacks hurt. And you kept pace with me. Granted, that wasn't full speed and I'm out of practice. Being in a cat body for 100 years will do that to you. But it was still extremely impressive. All you need is to get back into shape, and you're just as strong as I need you to be. Wait, Naruto said in response. That didn't prove anything. All I used on you were my Kaget Bunshin, which I already knew could hit you as long as they could see you, my hand-to-hand skills, and a few of my gravity techniques. Everything I used I was sure would work. I still have a laundry list of moves that I'm not sure about, and I don't feel like testing them out in the field just to find out that they crapped out on me. Yoruichi looked at him thoughtfully. She was amazed that he still had more moves, but the chance of them not working being high was a chance she didn't feel willing to take. She also needed to ensure that he was ready for when the time came and she needed him, which she assumed would be sooner rather than later. I'll tell you what. Can you meet me somewhere tomorrow? Naruto nodded and took a card that she handed him, reading out the words to himself. Urahara shop? Hey Yoruichi, why do you dash? He stopped when he looked up and found that she was gone. God damn, she's fast. And now it's raining. Great, he said to himself as a downpour started. Tucking the card into his pocket and checking around for Yoruichi once more, he made a few hand seals. Shunshin no Jutsu, body flicker jutsu. He then vanished in a whirlwind of leaves. They came for Rukia. They came for her, and it was all his fault. He had to get in her way, he had to take her powers, and now she was in trouble because of it. He couldn't even stop the ones sent to take her. That one guy was so fast, he cut right through him before he even knew what happened. As if he weren't even there. He wasn't strong enough to save her, and now he was going to die. No pain. Damn it, am I really dead? I guess that's why I don't feel any pain. Now that I think about it, my body is starting to feel warmer. It's really warm. Ichigo opened his eyes to come face to face with a large mustachioed man in glasses. Oh, you're getting goosebumps. What a relief! Ichigo screamed in complete and utter horror and pushed against the man's face as he was hovering over the inside of a futon, too close. Get out of my face! The man seemed to ignore Ichigo's discomfort in exchange for calling Urahara in the room. I know who you are. You're with that getabashi, sandals and hat, guy. So why the hell are you in bed with me? He eventually shoved him off and sat up, clutching at his body in pain, which he found to be shirtless and bandaged. Ugh, I'm not dead. How? He asked himself before looking around. Wait, this isn't even my house. Where the hell am I? Well, Tezai was right, you're awake. You shouldn't be moving around, Ichigo-san. Your injury isn't fully healed, Urahara said to him, a fan open and in front of his face. If you keep moving around you can die. Ichigo watched him walk closer. So I guess this must be your house. Urahara snapped his fan shut suddenly. Correct. You saved me, Ichigo said in a dejected manner. Urahara pointed at himself in a faux offended fashion. What's with that tone? The way you're talking is like I did something wrong. Ichigo's attention suddenly snapped to something else as he remembered someone else there at the scene of his defeat. Wait, Uryu. Tell me he's alive too, is he here? Urahara shook his head. He's already gone. He lost a lot of blood but his injury wasn't vital. Even if I just left him lying there he wouldn't have died for another 2 days, so I just treated his injury on the spot. A smirk came to the strange man's face. Come to think of it, when he left he was worried about you. Ichigo scoffed as he touched all of the bandages on his body. Yeah, right. It's true, Urahara said offhandedly. I even told him to rest here for a moment, and do you want to know what he said? Thank you for tending to me, however I am fine. Instead I believe you should treat Ichigo. The reason being, because right now the only one that can beat those bastards is not me. Please heal Ichigo, because the only one who can save Rukia is him. Ichigo remembers Rukia willingly going with them through that strange portal back to her realm. Faye, only me? What does he expect me to do? He snapped. Rukia's already back at the Soul Society. How can I follow her there? How the hell could I rescue her? There's no way. Urahara stayed silent and let him get his pent-up frustrations out in one go before he finally decided to speak. Do you really think that there's no other way to get to the Soul Society? He asked cryptically. Ichigo's head snapped in his direction immediately. There is a way? Tell me how. How do I do it? Holding up one finger that stopped him, Urahara began to explain. Of course I'll tell you, but under one condition. Starting now, for 10 days, you're going to be learning how to properly fight with me. That didn't sit too well with Ichigo at all. You're telling me to train? I don't have time for that. You don't know when Rukia is going to be executed. I should try getting there as fast as possible. Urahara sighed and slammed the tip of his cane onto Ichigo's forehead, driving him back down onto the bedding. The point I'm trying to make to you here is that you will die if you go there as you are. There is no maybe, there is no doubt. You will be slaughtered, he said, deadly serious, getting a shiver out of Ichigo at his tone. I let you fight them the last time on purpose. I thought you would get the picture if you fought them and saw for yourself. With your current skill you will die the second they realize what's going on. You're weak. Stop being such a child, saying you're going in to rescue Rukia. Don't use other people as an excuse to get yourself killed. Ichigo saw the utter serious look in Urahara's eyes and heard the edge in his voice when he stood up, letting Ichigo go. The Soul Society usually gives a month-long grace period maximum in a convict's execution. Same for Rukia-san. We will be taking 10 days, just to mess with you in particular. Ichigo's eye twitched at this goofball still trying to razz him, while acting serious. It will take 7 days to open the door that will take you there, so after you arrive in the Soul Society you still have 13 days. Plenty of time. Ichigo stayed silent for a long time before finally speaking up. Will I really get stronger in just 10 days? Of course. Urahara answered with a sly grin as his bucket hat shaded his eyes. If you truly want to save Rukia, that is. A strong will is stronger than steel. If your determination is anything less than full bore, then don't even bother going. For 10 days can you seriously be determined to fight and give it your all? Ichigo scratched his head. Well, if I don't do it, no one will. He gave Urahara a determined look. I guess I don't have a choice. Let's give it a try. Excellent, Urahara said, leaving the room. We'll start tomorrow. I need to fix up some medicine so that you don't drop dead in the middle of the training. But I do want you to go to school tomorrow as well. It's the last day after all. Not letting Ichigo ask him how he knew that, he immediately left the room and walked down the hall. So you're going to go ahead and send him? Yoruichi, in cat form, asked him once Urahara walked past her. You do know that the chances of him pulling this off are slim and none. Don't you? Urahara grinned at the cat from behind his fan. What's the fun in life without taking a few chances every now and then? Besides, he'll do fine with some polish. And we'll do that once I get his powers back. You're going to send those kids with him as well, aren't you? Yoruichi followed up, not missing a beat, the ones that showed signs of having powers as well. The more the merrier. The eccentric shop owner chirped. Yoruichi smirked, having finally gotten to the crux of what she wanted to talk about. Well, what if I said I felt like going as well? Go ahead. Urahara replied heartily. If you're feeling a little homesick, you might as well go on and head back for a bit when it's going to be nutty for sure anyway. And I wanted to take someone with me? She added. At that, Urahara sort of deflated. I can't go back. You know that the exile won't let me get even close. Old man Yamamoto would burn me to a crisp and lock me away if I showed back up around that place. Not you per se. She commented, getting his full attention. I found someone very interesting that I think the team would benefit from having. Benefit how? Urahara asked. Yoruichi gave him a grin with her sharp white teeth. Let's just say that he's my ringer, so to speak. The next day, Urahara's shop. Why did Yoruichi want me to come here? Naruto said to himself as he stood out in front of the plain-looking shop. Hey mister, are you going to buy something or are you just going to stand outside looking stupid all day? Loitering is illegal, you know? A young boy with red hair said snottily from the porch of the store. Naruto gave the kid a dry look. I don't even know what this place sells, so I don't know yet. Is there someone named Yoruichi around here? This person might be in cat form, for the sake of reference, he said with a completely straight face. A girl, the boy's age, with black hair and a calm look about her that had been sweeping the porch, looked up at him. Oh, I can go see if they're here, mister. Just wait for a moment. Naruto nodded and smiled at the girl. Thank you very much. Can I get your name, sweetheart? The girl started walking towards the door to the shop and turned to face him. My name is Yururu, sir, and this is Jinta. I'll be back in a moment. Who are you, by the way, so that I can relay the message? Naruto grinned at her. Uzumaki Naruto, the immortal sage of toads, balance, and the shinobi arts. Yururu bowed to him quickly and went inside to find someone to help him out, leaving Naruto and Jinta outside by themselves, the small boy glaring at him. Can I help you, kid? You don't look very tough. Or like a sage. Aren't sages old men or something? Jinta said to Naruto abruptly. Naruto grinned at him. Kid, I am older than you could possibly imagine. Do not get me started. But you do remind me of someone from a long time ago. And I'm tougher than you, that's all that really matters right now. You think so, huh? Jinta said before pulling a large kinabu out of seemingly nowhere and swinging it at Naruto. Jinta, home run. He shouted as he felt his attack connect. Jinta, why are you beating a log to death with your weapon? Jinta turned around to see Urahara standing in the doorway with Yururu and Yoruichi in cat form. What are you talking about? I hit some stupid blonde guy that kept saying he was a sage. Urahara grinned and pointed. Jinta followed his finger, and had his eyes bulge in disbelief when he saw a log that had been smashed up on the ground. What? But where is the other guy? Naruto appeared outside of the shop's property with a grin on his face. And the next generation of heirs learns the value of the log. Kawarimi no Jutsu, substitution jutsu, will never die. How did you do that? Jinta asked him. And where did you get the log? Naruto walked back over to everyone else, clutching his chest in a vulnerable manner. The log comes from the heart. When you feel the pull, you just know what it is by instinct and let the log take you to the sweet sanctuary of safety. He then smirked at Jinta. And I did it because I can. Because I'm awesome. Because I'm Uzumaki Naruto. And you'd better recognize that dash. Uzumaki Naruto? Urahara cut him off right there. Is that really your name? Naruto looked at him blankly and gave him a nod, prompting Urahara to scream like a girl and run back inside of the store. Naruto looked at everyone else outside who were just as confused as he was. After a few moments, Urahara came back outside, I need you to sign these. Make them out to Urahara Kisuke, he said, holding up a collection of books and a pen. Naruto grinned at him and started signing. Sweet, a fan. I don't get to talk to many of them, seeing as how my actual physical identity is a really well-kept secret. Here you go, stay cool Kisuke. Uzumaki Naruto, Databale. Books? Jinta asked. What kind of books does a stupid-looking guy like that write? Urahara looked at Jinta and opened his mouth before realizing that Yoruichi and more importantly Yururu were still standing right there. I'll tell you when you're older and can properly enjoy. Just know that this is a great, great man that deserves your respect and the respect of every red-blooded man alive. Ah. Naruto replied bashfully as he finished signing, I'm not that great, I'm just carrying on a legacy. Urahara hugged his collection tight to his body like a child before Tensai appeared and stashed the books for him so that no one could take them and peruse through them, coughing in his hand to bring the atmosphere back to normal. Now what can I do for you today in my humble establishment, Uzumaki-san? I asked him to come here, Kisuke. Yoruichi said, he's the one that I want to bring. Are you sure? Urahara said, looking at Naruto appraisingly, he's just a kid. No older than Ichigo. Yoruichi smirked. Naruto, if you would please start generating some of your yin chakra for the sake of the conversation. How much? Naruto asked. I kind of don't want to bring any hollows down. Or is that how this works? The amount that you used to keep pace with me should be more than enough to get the point across. The atmosphere was so full of Ichigo's own Riryoka. Kisuke probably couldn't get a good read on your back when you fought that Menos. If he had, he wouldn't be asking this question. Yoruichi replied smugly, as if keeping a secret that no one else around was privy to. Naruto shrugged. You're the boss air cat air. Whatever, he said before beginning to focus. The eyes of Jinta and Yururu immediately widened once they felt the power exuding from Naruto. Sorry if it takes a while to get it all going. I'm used to channeling all of my chakra. Splitting it is something I'm not really used to yet, so bear with me if you don't mind. I know this isn't much, but I'll get the rest going. He doesn't think this is much? Urahara wondered as he held his fan in front of his face. If that's the case, then he should have as much in his system as Ichigo does in theory. And he seems to be able to control it unlike him. That's all I need to see, Urahara replied, stopping Naruto from generating any more. Naruto stopped and looked at Urahara. But that wasn't nearly what I was using when me and Yoruichi started going faster. I can still do more. Urahara smirked and waved to his fan. Yes, but I think that's all my helpers can take at the moment, he said, pointing at a panting Jinta and a shell-shocked Yururu. You kind of caught them off guard on that one. Sorry, kids. Naruto apologized to the children. I didn't mean to surprise you like that. I'm just used to using a lot of power to do, well, anything. It's kind of hard for me to gauge what's a little and a lot to others, or hold back in fighting, or anything really. Urahara turned to Yoruichi. Okay, he's in. You can take your boy toy to the Soul Society when I send Ichigo. Wait. Hold on a second. Naruto cut in. I don't know what's going on, but what about the Ichigo guy? And what the hell is a Soul Society? One very long explanation later, Naruto sat inside of Urahara's shop around the table with the others. After giving him the crash course of things he needed to know about spirits, they caught him up on what was currently going on. So you're telling me that the Rukia chick is another Shinigami, and she was taken back to the Soul Society to be executed just for giving Ichigo the power to save his family from a hollow in her stead. In addition to that, you're going to have the boy wonder himself lead a team that he doesn't even know about yet to go and get her back. Pretty much. Urahara replied as Yururu walked in and set down tea for everyone. So are you in or what? Naruto's eye twitched. You want me to go to the place where dead souls go, fight not just one, not just two, not even a baker's dozen, but an entire army's worth of Shinigami. An idea that I'm still just getting used to, mind you, with a bunch of baby-faced brats, most of which haven't the faintest idea of what it really means to be in a fight for their lives. Yes. Urahara and Yoruichi replied in unison. Naruto let out a deep breath to calm himself and lifted one hand. This is another one of those choices that isn't really a choice, is it? On one hand, if I go, chances are that I will be killed, and then killed again in a horrible and brutal fashion, because they are not going to just leave my soul to roam up there after killing me only once. I will be on edge for however long there is, and I will probably die trying to get everyone out in one piece once everything goes to hell, because I have a hero's complex that I have cultivated over a countless number of years of good deeds. He then lifted the other one and began counterbalancing them. On the other hand, if I don't go, then they most certainly will die, since none of them have the faintest idea of how to infiltrate a home of the blind and deaf, let alone a military stronghold. I will feel guilty for the entire month because of the story you told me about the Rukia girl, and will feel even guiltier that I let those poor kids die. And I will miss out on my chance to be one of the few living humans to have actually seen death itself firsthand and come back to gloat about the tale. And? Urahara and Yoruichi asked excitedly. Naruto looked at both of his hands and clenched one tightly. You ask as if I really had a choice. I'm in, and I hate you both for this. You both owe me money. I'm a shinobi, not a charity case. Yoruichi blinked. You said you go around helping those that need it. Naruto scoffed. I do, but some things I can't do for free. I need to eat too. All of this awesomeness doesn't run off of kudos and thank yous. Yoruichi hopped into his lap, getting Naruto to pet her. But I'm still not ready. What am I going to do? Well, you have 10 days until I open the gate for Ichigo to leave. Urahara stated helpfully. He has to get prepared to go himself. You can do the same. Naruto grumbled. I need to get battle experience against the Shinigami to whip my back into shape, and so that I know what to expect. You won't let me fight Ichigo, I'm sure of that, dash, because you would tear him apart like a jackal on raw meat as he is now. Urahara said brightly, Yoruichi nodding her agreement. Exactly. Naruto said, no offense, but his moves are sluggish and he telegraphs his strikes with that sword. But I could always keep sparring with Yoruichi, I guess. Sorry Naruto, no can do. She said, hopping out of his lap, leaving him in shock. You're already ready as far as I saw, and if what you told me is true, and I have some others to get ready. The kids that will be assisting Ichigo need guidance to learn to use their powers. So what the hell am I going to do? Naruto cried indignantly. Fight with oxygen for a week and a half? Urahara grinned at Naruto in a manner that didn't bode well for him. If you're that desperate for a training partner, I have an idea for you. All it requires out of you is an open mind and unbreakable balls of steel. Yoruichi seems to have high belief in you, so why not? Naruto blinked at him before responding. Those two things have categorized my entire life from day one. What do you want me to do? Urahara started writing something down. Nothing much, just go here and say this. Everything else will take care of itself. Naruto looked at what Urahara wrote down and grumbled. I sure am being sent on a lot of errands, aren't I? Are you sure this is going to help me? It seems like a waste of time. You won't be disappointed. Urahara replied, grinning behind his fan. Are you trying to kill my charge, Kisuke? Yoruichi asked, glaring at him somewhat. Urahara feigned hurt and turned away so no one could see his grinning expression properly. Why Yoruichi, I'm appalled. I would never do such a thing to any ally of yours. Naruto-san is a friend and I am a great fan of his. Everything I am doing is beneficial. He mumbled the next part, to multiple parties. He felt a certain presence make its way nearby. Oh, Naruto, could you hide for a moment? Someone important is here. I'll just leave. I want to see what this place you're making me go to is all about, and there's no time like the present. Naruto replied, catch you guys in 10 days, I guess, he said before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Jinta palmed his face. Stupid idiot. Now I'll have to sweep that up. Yoruichi looked at the trail Naruto left. I think I should leave as well. I have others to prepare as well, she said before hopping out of the open window. Talk to you soon, Kisuke. Urahara stood up and went to the front door before opening it. Welcome. How are your wounds? He asked. Ichigo stood in front of Urahara and opened his shirt to reveal a series of faint scars. Recovered. That's good. The bucket hat wearing man said earnestly. Well, shall we begin? Naruto stood out in front of a secluded warehouse, frowning as he didn't see, hear, or sense anything at all. This is a total red herring. What am I doing here? Pulling the card that Urahara had written his directions out on, and what he was to say once he arrived. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I've come to kick some Shinigami reject ass. Please line up a single file and I promise it will be quick and exact. He looked at what he had just read strangely. What is this, an offer or a challenge? What did you just say, you were the dead son of a bitch? An angry voice ended before the door to the facility opened, revealing a short girl with blonde hair and stubby pigtails. She had on a red jogging suit and flip-flops. She had a pronounced fang sticking from the right side of her mouth as she glared at Naruto hatefully. "Who are you and what made you want to come and commit suicide like this? Look at this shit." It was too much for Naruto to take, beginning to break down in laughter. "Did I just call out a pygmy for a fight or something? Is Urahara high? Why the hell did he send me here? What does he think I'm going to get out of this?" The door opened further to reveal a rather lively assortment of people, all giving Naruto a wary, rather hostile glance. His apprehension at the people staring him down got a smirk out of the first girl that had answered the girl. Naruto looked down at what Urahara had written down once more and saw the words "Good luck, stay alive" and a chibi drawing of Urahara grinning with a fan written down when he heard the sound of steel sliding. He lowered the note and saw that they all had their swords drawn at him. Naruto began to sweat bullets and read the last thing that Urahara told him to say on the note. I don't know what this means exactly, but no masks please." As his senses fully came back to him, a beaten and tattered Naruto lay down on the ground inside of a sizable training area set to look like a mountainous wasteland. His clothes were blood-soaked and cut to near rags and he was taking deep breaths. His eyes were swollen, but those along with his other numerous wounds were rapidly healing, something that his tormentors took advantage of regularly. 30 minutes to an hour of letting his car sit in the sun depending on how beaten up he was. Then they'd pick him back up and kick him again. It was good at first. Fantastic fighting, especially the girl he called out at the start. Yeah, they kicked each other's asses all over the place. It was a good time. He fought her tooth and nail for a few hours and then she switched out with one of the others. He liked her in particular though. She fought him for every step. Even slapped the shit out of him with a sandal a few times. It was cool with him. He had nothing but energy to burn and these guys were incredibly strong. Whenever one didn't feel like fighting they would switch out and he would keep fighting, getting a taste of new combat styles. And these guys had it all over the board on that front. No two fought alike. It was great. Bar none, it was the best training he had gotten in his entire life. But eventually everything wears down. And fighting them each back to back, him against a fresh one every time, were not a very good set of odds for him. However, they would not stop, and he wasn't about to be a punk and call timeout. No single person outlasted him, not even an entire group of 8 people during one stretch. He would outlast and deal with at least 2 before having to take a rest. So he kept fighting, taking the short 1 to 10 minute reprieves in between battles as precious lifeblood that kept him going. That was 3 days ago. He still had 7 left, and they were all fresh from repeated rest. And there was the big guy with the pink hair, green suit, mustache, and gentle demeanor there to heal them right up even when he actually did kick their asses too bad for simple rest and time to solve. No one was doing that shit for him. He was relying on good old me, myself, and I. A tall muscular man with silver hair, a purple tank top, green cargo pants, black combat boots, and orange fingerless gloves looked down on Naruto, poking his body with his foot. "You still alive down there, Uzumaki?" Naruto groaned and glared as best he could at the man, enhanced by the Rinnegan. "I swear to Kami and the original Rikudo Sannin himself. I swear on my name as Uzumaki Naruto. I swear on my damned uber-sexy whisker marks. I am going to kick all of your asses so hard your backsides will have permanent ball-court grip." He sat up painfully and slowly stood to his feet before swishing his mouth around and spitting out a mouthful of blood. "You've had your time. Tag out already. I want someone else to kick my ass." He lifted his finger to point out his target. His finger drifted over to where the others were sitting and stopped on one of them. "You dash." He pointed at a woman with green short hair who wore a white bodysuit and orange gloves, orange boots, and an orange scarf to go with the goggles atop her head. She perked up brightly when she noticed he was talking to her. "Cutie. You look way too bored over there, and that's a crime. Get in here." She smiled brightly and jumped up from where she was sitting. The silver-haired man walked over to the resting area, rubbing his neck as he held out his hand. "Looks like it's your turn, Miss Shiro. I swear, this guy's made of the toughest stuff in the world." The girl happily extended her own arm and slapped palms with the man, physically tagging him out, so to speak. "Finally can say. I've been waiting forever to fight Fish Cake again. God damn it. That joke is thousands of years old. It means maelstrom, damn it. Naruto ended in a tantrum from where he was waiting to fight. Now get you over here and fight me before I puke again from overexertion. I haven't eaten in 3.5 days, and if I stop my stomach will notice. Coming. Mishiro replied cheerfully as she made her way over to Naruto. Zanpakuto or no Zanpakuto? You haven't used it yet, why mess with a good thing? He yelled, gesturing for her to come on. Now bring it. Let's see if any of you can break the time record of putting me down this time. I haven't been beaten faster than 4 hours total yet for all of you combined. I'll put you down in 20 minutes. She yelled back before disappearing in a burst of speed. I'm still using swift release, and you ain't as fast as Yoruichi. He said before doing the same thing himself. Naruto met her in a clash in the middle of the field, his fist colliding with the flat of her foot. The force of both attacks pushing each other away. You do have one hell of a kick on you though. But I'm glad to say that for the most part, my ninjutsu still works on you guys. Shinigami, beware my murder face. Naruto shouted as he made hand seals, Doton, Kusari no Yobi, Earth Release, Call of Chains. Naruto slammed his hands into the ground, forcing 9 thick chains to emerge and shoot out of the ground at Mishiro in an attempt to capture and bind her for Naruto's benefit. Mishiro, however, while not as fast as Yoruichi, was to her credit still far and beyond fast enough to keep away from Naruto's chains, dodging them completely and coming at Naruto head-on while he was focused on keeping them active. The girl was petite and very unassuming at a first glance, but so far she had been keeping pace with Naruto, and even outclassing him at times using pure hand-to-hand skill and her speed, not to mention the times when she kicked him felt like he was a baseball that had been drilled for a liner. Shit. Naruto muttered, dropping the chains and making more hand seals in a blur of fingers and smashing his hands into the ground. Doton, Doryu Taiga, Earth Release, Mud Flow River. Because she had been making a beeline right for Naruto the entire time as he hadn't moved and she was so much faster than his jutsu. Mishiro was literally caught slipping when she slipped on the ground underneath her, which had turned into a stream of mud that was rapidly moving towards Naruto. This is gross fish cake, she said as she found herself almost right on Naruto, who had his fist edged back to strike the helpless girl. Well, he thought she was helpless. She never got that memo. Ah. Damn it, I can't see. Naruto shouted as a large glob of mud hit him in the eyes. He jumped away to clear his eyes and upon doing so saw Mishiro right in front of him. Mishiro, drop kick! She shouted before driving her feet right into Naruto's body, sending him flying through the air. He didn't know how high the ceiling was and he didn't want to, thus he stopped himself in midair and simply hung there. Hey! That's right, I forgot you can do that too! That's good! She yelled to him before taking off after him in the air to continue combat. He had learned a very important lesson here in this grueling little torture session that he was going to use for sure once he found Urahara for revenge. His ninjutsu still worked on Shinigami. At first he didn't know what the deal was with those hollows he fought. But against the Shinigami, if he could see them and he was aware of them spiritually, he could hit them with an attack, just as clear as if he were punching them. Good to know. It made the getting kicked around thing far more tolerable, and the look on their faces when he started throwing his ninjutsu around. Priceless. They called it Kidu, especially with the incantation, but he was quick to correct them that the two were similar, but not the same, nor did he need to call out the name of the attacks that he knew better than others. From that point forward all bets had been off, and any inkling any of them had on holding back died right there as they went hit for hit. Kidu versus ninjutsu. He had been bitching about his jutsu not really having an effect on a hollow he had tried to electrocute when he first arrived in town, and they said they had no clue as to why it didn't work, because it sure hurt them badly enough. After the third time of getting his bell rung by Kensei, the realization hit him. Elemental advantages still exist, just in a more magnified manner because all hollows were spirits. He had simply gotten bad luck on both sides of the draw, so to speak, against the first one he tried a ninjutsu on. They were comprised of reisure, spirit particles, in its rawest, most unrefined form that could still take corporeal shape, like a biju, but not nearly as strong or able to interact with the environment at large. Not made of the earthly things that people and other things were made of that had to share the same genetic makeup. Hollows didn't have that rule to follow, so hollows and their elemental affinities were more in tune than an untrained humans would be naturally. Hence why some could fly faster than others, wind, why some were tougher than others, earth, why some had violently effective natural defenses or could pierce through almost anything, lightning, why some were extremely elusive and hard to get a hold of, water, and why some had body types that corresponded for attacks of incredible power no matter how weak or unspectacular the hollow itself really was. Fire. It wasn't the fact that part of chakra was physical that was the problem. The problem was that if the attack he used was the hollow's element, the physical portion would be cancelled out entirely, leaving him with a jutsu that only had half of a kick to it, not enough to do damage to a hollow that shared the element. What did he think of all of this? Which of his new acquaintances helped him? None of them, unless you counted the dogged fighting that got the blood pumping in his brain to allow him to think as help. However, time between fights added up, especially when you found yourself unable to move, so in their own rather sadistic way they did help. "I'm going to knock you out, fish cake!" Mishiro said happily as she blocked one of Naruto's kicks with her own. "You all say that," Naruto said with a roll of the eyes. The two continued clashing all over the field hand to hand as the others sat on the side and watched. "Man!" A tall man with a weird star-shaped afro, a green jogging suit, and sunglasses said as he alternated between reading a manga and watching Naruto fight Mishiro. "Other than blacking out every few hours, he's been going non-stop. You've got to admit it's pretty impressive." And he took the whole revelation of a Visard thing pretty well too. A blonde man with a seemingly permanent grin on his face and a newsboy cap smirked as he watched the fight going on. I think part of that had to do with Hiyori's foot being stuck in his windpipe during the explanation process. But I get your point. Love. Sigh, I'm kind of sick of fighting him though. He's like a nuclear generator, he never runs out of energy. Give him a little downtime, and he's right back up in your face. That's dangerous. Shut up, Shinji. I'm not through fighting him. The blonde girl Naruto had originally picked with on his arrival said, chomping at the bit to get back in there. I haven't extracted my pound of flesh from his dumbass yet. Mishiro, kick! The sound of a solid blow rang out, prompting everyone to look up. Heads up! Shinji yelled, grabbing Hiyori and holding her out in front of himself like a human shield as Naruto hurtled through the air at him. Incoming! Hachi, barrier now! A quick barrier flew up around them as Naruto's body smacked off the side of it and stuck to it back first like a bug on glass. That was close, he commented before getting decked in the face by an angry blonde girl that proceeded to stomp on his face repeatedly. Ow! Naruto said to himself before he shook off the cobwebs and glared back out at Mishiro. For the last time, that's not an actual attack. You just shouted your own name and kicked the shit out of me. It actually has to do something special to count. It hit you, didn't it, swirly eyes? That should be special enough, she yelled back. Naruto mumbled out a reply about how he wasn't even using Rinnegan this time under his breath and looked back at the other Visards. And you guys are lazy. You made Hachi throw up that barrier just because you didn't want to move your asses. Gah, I'm so pissed I'm going to dash. He was cut off from his rant by blood jetting from his nose and his body falling off of the barrier to the ground. Yes. I'm the one that finished you this time, fish cake! Mishiro shouted proudly as she made her way back over to the others and Naruto. Didn't count, Naruto said weakly. I just ran out of chakra. Just give me a few. He shut his eyes and blacked out. A long-haired blonde man in a black suit and a frilled white shirt looked Naruto over. I don't think he's getting up this time. He whistled slowly. What a marathon though. A woman in red glasses, a ponytail and a school uniform nodded. I'll say love. 3 days with no real breaks in between. You've got to love that stamina. She stood up. Okay, Hachi can heal him and we can let him rest up. I'll check the bag he brought and see if he brought any clothes. Shinji smirked. You just want to use that as an excuse to go through his stuff and potentially see the guy when you change him, don't you, Lisa? Lisa didn't reply as she went off to grab Naruto's stuff. Meanwhile, the large man Hachi moved over Naruto and erected a barrier around him. I'm terribly sorry about that. The others haven't had any sort of activity like this in a long time, and you were a good target to vent some long-standing aggression. Stop apologizing, Hachi, Hiyori said as she marched over to Naruto, who was beginning to gain consciousness. This dumbass came and called us out. He's just lucky he told us no mask beforehand and asked nicely. Love looked at Naruto and then to everyone else. How did he even know about that? Hachi deactivated the barrier when Naruto stuck up his arm holding a piece of paper. Shakily Hachi took it and read it before handing it to Shinji, who quickly understood. Oh, Urahara. Well, that explains it. He walked over to Naruto and kneeled down over the barrier that Hachi had made to heal his wounds. Okay, we told you that we're Visards, but do you know what that actually is? Naruto shook his head. No. Are you from Godai 13? Naruto shook his head weakly. I barely know what that is. What's Visard? Shinji gave Naruto a serious look. A Visard is a Shinigami that has developed hollow powers. A pharaoh-looking mask formed over his face that increased the pressure of the room to Naruto. Like this, see? Naruto's eyes widened as his body began to feel the effects of Hachi's healing. Whoa. How do you get powers like that? Shinji laughed humorlessly. Not by choice, I should say. I'm going to skip the boring parts since I don't really trust you, but long story short, we were forcefully given these powers. We never asked for them. Naruto shut his eyes and nodded thoughtfully. I can understand that. What you're talking about isn't that much different from me, honestly. Hiyori placed her foot on Hachi's barrier and sneered down at Naruto. And what exactly would some dopey-looking guy like you know about something like this? Can you let the barrier go now? Naruto asked Hachi politely. Thanks a lot, your healing barrier worked really fast. You're good. Hachi complied and bowed to Naruto. My time-space regression doesn't work that fast. What amazing healing capabilities. Hiyori growled at Naruto. Hey, I was talking to you. Don't ignore me, damn it. Naruto turned towards her. Well, now that I know what the masks are, shall we continue? Just you and me. He then smirked. And you can use the mask. Hiyori looked at him in surprise, as did everyone else. She finally grinned at him evilly. You know you just signed your own death warrant, right? Hachi, put up a barrier so that no one feels this. Yeah? Naruto said, jumping back towards his feet. He used Shunshin to reappear in the middle of the battlefield. Just get back out here so we can do this. This is what you wanted the entire time, right? Hiyori quickly did as asked and made her way directly in front of Naruto, drawing her Zanpakuto and pointing at him. Is this what you really want? You're going to be sorry. Just do it and let me be the judge of that. Naruto said before feeling a rather oppressive aura set over the area. Man, that has some kick to it. He remarked as a skeletal mask with diamond markings across the brow and a horn on the forehead formed over Hiyori's face. She pulled the mask up to smirk at him. So how do you like this? Naruto chuckled nervously. That's really strong. This is great, he said before he began laughing slowly. As time carried on, his laughter increased more and more, confusing everyone in the room. This is absolutely great. I don't think I'm going to stomp a mud hole in Urahara anymore when I see him again. He introduced me to you guys. I think we're going to get along just fine. Hiyori looked at him with her black scara and brown iris eyes in confusion. Why would you thank him? I'm about to kick your ass. I want to thank him because he introduced me to all of you. A bunch of people. Naruto's eyes turned orange in color as a series of strange markings formed and expanded from his stomach across his torso, starting at a spiral on his navel. A yellow shroud completely engulfed Naruto's body, releasing energy in flickers of flame. Who is just like me? Hiyori looked at him in pure shock. The power flowing off of him was just as strong as their own. It felt almost the same except for a little something else that she couldn't place her finger on. Are you a Visard too? You said you weren't a Shinigami. I never lied to you. This thing inside of me isn't a hollow. It's not just spiritual, it's also something physical. Everyone can see and sense this, not just those that are spiritually aware, everyone. I'm not a Shinigami. Naruto answered honestly with a serene smile on his face that still confused everyone. I hold something inside of me known as a Biju, a living corporeal mass of chakra which is the combination of spiritual and physical energy. I haven't had to do this in a very long time. I didn't think I would ever find anyone else like me ever again. Hiyori let her mask fade. She no longer desired a fight with Naruto, instead having too many questions to warrant a battle right now. What do you mean like you? How are any of us like you? Naruto let his own enhanced power fade. Because I didn't ask for this power to be put into me either. but I fought for control of it just like you all had to for the sake of myself and the people around me. Because I know a hollow would never just freely give you control and cooperate peacefully. Same with me and mine. What are you? Shinji asked from the sidelines. Naruto looked over at the other Visards and grinned at them. I'm just your average everyday immortal / Jinchuriki / sage / shinobi. Nothing too out of the ordinary. I travel around, doing this and that here and there, and I dash. Uzumaki-sama. Lisa came from out of nowhere and grabbed a hold of Naruto in a tight hug, catching him off guard and surprising the hell out of the others who had never seen her act this way. I'm your biggest fan. I've read every story you've ever written. All 45 volumes of the Ika Ika series. Naruto grinned as he felt Lisa press his face into her bosom. I write books, Dada Bail. He tried looking up at Lisa but found it rather hard to do as she was smothering him. Well, this is a refreshing change of pace. I mean, before this you were trying to kill me with your sword. Now you're trying to kill me in a far more pleasant way. Lisa let go of him. I just saw your manuscript for the next series, but I couldn't read it. It's in some language I can't understand. Naruto chuckled. I do that because it's the language I used as a child. It kind of fell out of practice as the years wore on, so no one is around that can really translate it. He actually started paying attention and saw that Love, Shinji, and Rose had surrounded him with starstruck looks on their faces. Yes? Shinji pointed at him. Your Uzumaki Naruto? The Uzumaki Naruto? Your books never had your picture. No one did. Naruto looked at Shinji proudly. I published the books myself. My sensei wrote the first volume of the first 3 books. I just kept re-releasing them over and over again throughout history before I started writing my own follow-up volumes like 150 years ago. People kept on thinking that it was just a passed-down pen name for anonymity, but no, I'm immortal. He laughed maniacally before calming himself. Can we have your autograph? Love and Rose yelled at him, brandishing books for him to sign. Naruto nodded and immediately made a Kage Bunshin that signed in his place. Lisa sidled up to his side, looking away from him in an indifferent manner that was spoiled by the blush on her cheeks. So how exactly do you get the inspiration for these books? Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Because I've been alive for a long, long time. And in that long, long time I have seen and done many, many things that I have chronicled in some way in book form. All of the stuff that happens in those books is stuff that is loosely based on things that I've done. Every separate volume of adventure arcs is a separate adventure of mine. Shinji got in his face excitedly. So the stories about the wandering warrior traversing the desert kingdoms. Naruto nodded. Yep, me. Love did the same. And the ones about the man traveling the American plains in the expansion era, mingling with pioneers and Indians alike? Good times. Naruto admitted. Except the pioneer men were really kind of s. But Indians are totally cool. Rose rounded them out with his own question. What about the series in Renaissance Italy and Germany? Naruto pointed a thumb at himself. Yo. He then shivered slightly. Bubonic plague was gross. Good thing I'm so healthy and clean. And Lisa added questioningly, you did everything in those books? Naruto looked at her and gave her entire figure once over. Would you like to find out? It has been a long time. But there are some things you never forget how to do. Instead of an answer, he took a shot to the face from a sandal that sent him flying. Getting up to his feet, angrily he glared at Hiyori. Stop hitting me with that damn thing. Stop being a... Hiyori yelled back, brandishing the offending footwear threateningly in his direction. Naruto shook his fist at her. Not being a is boring. Maybe you should try it. You might not be so high-strung if you actually got some every now and then. A sandal flew across the area and struck him in the face, sliding off and leaving footprints. How does that keep hitting me? It's not even moving that fast. Now that everything had calmed down and all of the Visard had gotten their arbitrary aggression out of their systems, it was question time. They all made their way back to the warehouse area of the hideout and sat around. Naruto was finally able to change his clothes, which were next to destroyed, and get some food of the ramen variety in him when Shinji started with the questions. So why did Urahara send you here to get your kicks? Naruto stopped eating and lightly glared at him. I didn't get my kicks. I think I did awesome considering you all came at me back to back one after the other. But Urahara sent me here so that I could learn how to fight a Shinigami. Why would you want to go do something like that? The easygoing blonde man asked his spiky-haired new acquaintance. You're not even a spirit, you're a human. A strong human, but still a human. Why would you go to the Suriidii for anything? Naruto sighed. A friend wants me to. And if I don't go, then who knows what will happen? Some other kids that have never dealt with anything like this before are going to rescue a friend that's going to be executed for no good reason. Lisa spoke up, poking her head out of one of her novels to interject. Been there, done that. Anyway. Naruto continued, I'm also really curious. I mean, it's gotten to the point that nothing on earth can put me down anymore, so Kami, in his or her infinite wisdom and desire to see me struggle, has decided to introduce me to the spiritual side. I don't know what to think yet. This entire situation is less than a week old for me. You scared? Shinji asked him, grinning teasingly. Naruto frowned. Nope. It's just progression at this point. What more is there for me to experience in life at this point? I'll tell you, death. You can't run away from it no matter how much bonus time you're given. Apparently this is my time for a little run-in with it. Mishiro sat between the two at the table, looking between them as they spoke. Wow, you're a cool fish cake guy. I like you. Shinji sighed. You like him because he's the first new person we've met in around 100 years. He lets us kick his ass. He doesn't care that we have hollow sides. And he doesn't think you're annoying. He let a grin find its way back onto his face. I think I like him too. Me too. Love, Rose, and Lisa all chimed in, holding up autographed copies of Naruto's books. Kensei growled at the rest of them. How can you just accept a guy like that? He may have that strange power inside of him, but it doesn't feel anything like ours. It feels like our opposite, full of life. Naruto looked over at Kensei and stopped chewing his food. Well, that's because I used the yang cloak of my Jinchuriki form when I used it. It's easier to make the yang cloak than the other one that I have, and when I make the yin cloak, the cloak made out of Riryoku, it burns through my chakra faster than the other that's more akin to pure ki, which is yang chakra. I find more of a use with the yang than the yin too. You can't hold your form forever either? Kensei said, more to himself than to Naruto, just like us. Are you sure you're not really our predecessor or something? Because the things that you're saying about this power in you seem more and more familiar. He shook his head when he saw Naruto staring at him blankly with noodles hanging from his mouth. Ugh, never mind. Naruto shrugged and finished off his noodles before beginning to slurp down the broth, while Hiyori kept pacing around the warehouse muttering, well, I still don't like him. I don't trust him. What if he's been sent here to destroy us off of orders? He could just be trying to befriend us to learn about us before he takes us out. Naruto finished his food with a small burp and looked at Hiyori. No one gives me any kind of orders, I do what I want. I wouldn't do it anyway. I would rather fail my mission and deal with the consequences than kill you, even if it was a mission. It's not, I just came here because of someone else, and I'm not disappointed. He grinned at Hiyori mischievously. I told you already. I like you guys. Hiyori looked at him in shock before turning away, muttering something about blonde dumbass. Naruto could have used that to pick on her, but decided to let it slide for now. Shinji crossed his legs as he sat in his chair. So you seem plenty good enough in a fight to all of us. What are you going to do for 7 more days? I don't know. Naruto admitted, scratching his head. Urahara never said whether or not I could show up early, so I guess I'll stick around here if you'd let me. He looked around at all of the Visards, and placed his hands together in a pleading fashion. Please? I promise that you won't even notice I'm here. I won't take up much space at all. I'm super clean, and I'll be your best friend. Why would you want to stay here? Rose asked him, utterly surprised by someone that was more or less normal for a lack of a better term, and should have had a normal life. Naruto's answer was plain and simple. Because you guys are awesome. I really don't want to have to find another hotel to stay at. I'd actually like to hang out for a while. I'm sick of being lonely, you know? He suspected that they did indeed know. Just because they seemed to rather keep to themselves more often than not didn't mean that they didn't feel the same way. I can pay you guys. I'm rich after all, and I can hang out with each and every one of you. Naruto formed 7 Kagebunshin at the same time. The Visards all looked at him appraisingly as if trying to gauge his sincerity, but couldn't see any deceit behind the big goofy grin he was giving them. After a while of them staring at him, his grin dropped, and he dispelled his clones. Find you cheap bastards. I'll buy all of the food and goodies that everyone wants for the entire stay. Shinji appeared behind Naruto and patted him on his shoulder good-naturedly. Welcome to the family, Naruto. Yeah, whatever. Naruto grumbled, but with no anger in his voice as he still had a smile on his face. So what do you guys do for fun around here? Read. Lisa said, backed up by Love and Rose, who were holding up issues of manga magazines and books. Train. Kensei said firmly, crossing his arms as if to dare Naruto to say something negative. Oh, I don't know. Hachi said somewhat sheepishly. Mess with Kensei. Mishiro said loudly, getting a growl of annoyance from the man in question. Pick on Snaggletooth/dumbass. Both Shinji and Hiyori said respectively before Hiyori realized what he called her and jumped at him, leading to another fight between them. Naruto let out a sweat drop as he watched the others go about their usual business, which to him looked like a whole lot of nothing. Okay, this is pretty bad. I'm going to find all of you something useful to do with your time as far as hobbies go. Is all that you guys do to train and, well, this? Yes. Upon hearing the unanimous response, his sweat drop grew more pronounced. Come on. I've been alive for thousands of years and I came up with tons of stuff to occupy my time besides that. Pranking world leaders and monarchs, making fortunes and blowing them on useless stuff. You guys have got to have something. Mishiro raised her hand as if she were in class. Does getting drunk count? Naruto let out a sigh and ran his palm down his face before giving off a defeated look. Yes. Getting drunk counts. Let's get drunk. Let's get drunk and we can talk about all of the awesome things we've done. Then we can go back into the training room and fight some more. That should kill some time. A unanimous chant of agreement soon followed. Urahara's shop, day of departure. Inside Urahara's shop sat a training facility much like the one that the Visards possessed in their own warehouse. In addition to Yuryu and Ichigo, the others down there happened to be a rather silent, large, dark-skinned teen with curly brown hair covering one eye, a sleeveless gray shirt with a red stripe, and olive pants. There was also a rather bright teen girl with orange hair, bangs tucked back with a pair of hairpins. She also wore a pink short-sleeved shirt and gray pants. Getting everyone's attention, Urahara pointed over to himself. Okay, everyone pay attention please. It's about time to go. A series of stones formed behind him into a square door. This is the gate to the Soul Society. Now please listen up, I will now teach you the way to go through this door without dying. But first dash. He slammed the bottom of his cane into Ichigo's body, separating his soul from his body. That's better. The others were all picking at his body, marveling at how he was separated. Why are you guys messing with my body? Focus! He yelled in annoyance. Who said they could just poke at him freely like that? Khan appeared in teddy bear/lion form over Ichigo's shoulder. Right. Because that body is going to be mine for the time being. You guys shouldn't touch it. Everyone except Orihime-san. She can touch it, he said, pointing at the girl. Khan, why are you here? Ichigo asked the plush toy as the others started to freak out at the sight of a talking toy. Why? Khan said indignantly. I'm going with you, of course. Do you really think you're leaving me behind? I will brave the difficulties of the Soul Society, and dash. He was cut off by Chad, the large one, grabbing him and looking at him intently, forcing him to scream out in fear. Hey! Urahara shouted and waved, trying to get everyone's attention. You can look back over here now. I'm trying to explain how the door works here. He settled down and got back into explanation mode. As you know, the Soul Society is the world of the souls, so in order to be there you actually have to be a soul. However, the only one that really has the freedom to move around is Ichigo due to him being a Shinigami. Even if the rest of you have your souls separated from your bodies, you would still be bound by your chain of fate. That is why a Rishi Henkanki, spirit exchanger, will change the makeup of physical things in the living world into Reisher, the main component of souls. Yuryu understood what was being said, so all we have to do is go through this door and everything on that front will handle itself. Correct. Urahara replied, you can all go to the Soul Society, as you currently are. Ichigo started marching towards the door. Right then, let's go. Urahara cut him off by slamming his cane into his side. Not done yet. He chirped cheerfully as Ichigo held his side in pain. The process won't bring pain, and you'll be able to go to the Soul Society. The real problem is time. The amount of time you will all be given to get through to the Soul Society is 4 minutes. Once time is up, the door will close and you guys will forever be locked in the space between the living world and the soul society, the Damai. He continued, if you are caught by something called the Kuryu, even a single foot, the chance of leaving in time becomes impossible. Orihime looked rather disheartened by the rundown of their odds of even just making it there. So what should we do? Keep moving forward. The others looked at Yoruichi entering the room with a serious look. As serious a look as a cat can have. I thought I told you, your heart and soul are connected. What is important is how your heart thinks. Only those that can do so will be allowed to follow me. What are you talking about? Ichigo said belligerently. Everyone here today made the decision to go and are determined to go through with it. You should know, kid. Yoruichi said offhandedly, if you lose in there you won't be coming back. I guess we won't be losing then. Ichigo replied determinedly. Well said. Yoruichi said proudly before a tick mark formed on the head of the cat indicating annoyance. Sorry I'm late everyone, I had to go retrieve someone who decided to sleep in. Sorry I'm late everyone. I woke up with a black cat standing over me and decided that was bad luck, so I took a walk around Karakura town to let my luck settle. A rather haggard-sounding voice said as footsteps signified the person descending down to their level. And don't blame me for that, Yoruichi. On the last day we just drank all day long and fought. Ichigo and Yuri could have sworn that they had heard the voice before. Yoruichi scoffed and continued to walk over to the others, leading the person to enter the room alone. So then why did I find you this morning? The others face faulted at that little kernel of information they didn't need to hear. Finally making an appearance was Naruto, dressed in a dark green combat vest, a set of rather loose black pants, and a pair of distinct sandals that fit firmly, and secured his foot and around his ankle for good support. To top the outfit off he wore an orange bandana around his neck with the rusted metal leaf insignia sewn into it, and a red overcoat with black flames lining the bottom. Naruto's eyes were rather bloodshot and red. Why did I find you this morning? He fired back at the cat in a seemingly nonsensical fashion. I didn't do anything to anyone there last night, did I? Yoruichi grinned at him, trying to repress some shameful memories. Naruto waved that sentiment off. Nope, none whatsoever. I would just like to remember what I did. It might make a cool scene to write about. I'm expecting tons of stuff to write about on this little mission of ours. Ichigo pointed at Naruto. You're that Naruto guy we met a while back. What are you doing here? Wasn't he in our class for one day? Chad remarked as he had been there the day Naruto had been thrown in. Don't remind me. Naruto said bitterly. I'll be damned if I'm ever going back to school. I'm an award-winning author that has sold countless books. Who needs school at that point? Don't change the subject. Ichigo snapped impatiently. What are you doing here? Do you even know Rukia or something? Naruto shook his head. Honestly, no. And I have no reason to be doing this personally other than the fact that Yoruichi asked me to. And the fact that just because Rukia isn't a part of my plane of existence doesn't mean that I should just let her be killed for such a stupid reason. Urahara walked over and placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto-san. I hope that your training was to your liking. Naruto gave him an evil grin that sent a shiver down his spine. Yes, it was Urahara. I'd be happy to show you just how fruitful it was after I get back. We should sit down and have a little chat, but it can wait until I get back. Ah heh. Urahara backed away from Naruto and slapped the gate with his fan. Okay. Let's get going. The moment the gate is open, you guys rush in. A few taps of his cane and a portal between worlds was opened between the stones comprising the gate. Naruto walked towards it, rolling his shoulders out to loosen up. Alright. You both owe me money or something of equal value. Remember that. Naruto said, pointing at Urahara and Yoruichi while stepping up first. I don't like playing guinea pig, but no guts, no glory. See you guys on the other side. He said, jumping in abruptly before anyone else. Shall we? Yoruichi asked, getting a nod out of Ichigo and the others before they all jumped through as well. Soul Society, West Rakangai 1st District. The trip through the tunnel had been extremely dangerous. Almost getting caught by the thing that Urahara warned them about as well as something else known as the cleaner of the tunnel had nearly finished them off before real danger could begin. Were it not for Orihime's timely intervention with her powers they would have been finished. Is everyone alright? Orihime asked brightly as she looked at all of the others laying in a heap. Yuria sat up and held his head. I really didn't think we'd be that pathetic right off the bat. Totally unexpected. He felt the back of his costume. I didn't think I'd have to use my backup cape so soon. Everyone looked at Yuri strangely for carrying extra capes specifically for his outfit with him. Great, Orihime said cheerfully. It looks like no one was hurt. What's so good about that? Yoruichi yelled as the cat headbutted Orihime in the eye, getting her to start crying. Were you even listening to me in there? It's a good thing that only the shield was touched by the kotatsu. If it was the main body of your Shunshin Rika, you would have been dead by now, Yoruichi said, poking her on her hairpins. Why are you so pissed off? Ichigo said, we're all okay because of Inoue. You don't seem to understand the situation. Yoruichi said, looking around, and to top it off we lost Naruto. What on earth happened to him? The smoke around them cleared to reveal a rather residential-looking place. A town if they were guessing right. Ichigo got a good look at their surroundings and commented on it. This is the Soul Society? Yes. Yoruichi began explaining for his benefit. We are currently on the outskirts. The Rukangai, Wandering Soul City, the place where souls live when they first come to Soul Society. It is located around the Suriidai, Court of Pure Souls, which is our intended destination. This is the poorest area of the Soul Society, but also the most free and holds the most souls. Ichigo looked over where there was a clear discrepancy in how things were set up as far as the layout of the area. Hey, that must be the Watamakala where all of the Shinigami live, right? I'm going in, he said as he rushed over by himself. No, you idiot! You can't go that way! Yoruichi shouted, trying to stop him, but it was too late. Ichigo turned around to look at Yoruichi and was nearly crushed by a massive defensive wall that cut him off from proceeding further. What the hell? He said in confusion as he could see no way around whatsoever because of the smoke shrouding his view. It's been so long since someone tried going through the western gate without a pass. A booming voice said from in front of Ichigo. The smoke cleared, revealing a man that towered over Ichigo. He wore a small hat on his head, and the left side of his chest was exposed by his uniform. However, he had armor on his left shoulder and upper arm. I finally have something to do. He picked up a massive axe and slammed it down in front of Ichigo. Go ahead and attack from any angle you'd like, kid. Yuri looked at the man in awe. Who is this guy? He's so large he couldn't possibly be human. His name is Jidenbu. Yoruichi enlightened the others. He's an elite in the Soul Society. The guard of the western gate of the Suriidai. Yuri narrowed his eyes. That means we're going to have to work together to defeat this monster and get past the gate. Yoruichi nodded. Exactly, but it isn't going to be a simple task. It would be easy if Naruto was here. I can't risk transforming yet for no reason. Leaving that as just a thought, Yoruichi kept speaking. He's been a guardian for 300 years and until now no one has ever passed him to make it inside. One swing of his axe will obliterate you. He's the legendary Hercules of this world. Yoruichi then shouted over to Ichigo. Ichigo, retreat and we'll come up with a plan. That course of action was cut short when Chad and Orihime ran ahead to assist Ichigo. Didn't you two hear me? We're coming to help you, Kurosaki-kun. Orihime thought as she ran to assist Ichigo. Seeing them coming, Jidenbu slammed his axe on the ground and fractured it, forming a wall to keep them from assisting Ichigo. Your behavior sickens me, he said to the others. This city has rules for you uncivilized people. First, you must wash your hands when you come back home. Second, you must never eat food that has fallen on the ground. Third, a duel is one-on-one. No one else is to get involved. Therefore my opponent is the spiky-haired kid. Just stay out there until I am done, he stated firmly. Chad pointed at the wall and spoke quietly. Orihime, I'll make a hole in the wall. Take that chance and attack him. Trying to come up with a sneak attack? Jidenbu questioned testily, surprising them with his good hearing. Chad, Inoue. Ichigo's voice sounded out over the wall. Kurosaki-kun, are you hurt? Orihime questioned worriedly. Hold on a second, we're almost there. I'm fine. Ichigo yelled back. But I wanted to talk to you guys about that. You and Chad just stay there, alright? Don't do anything. Before Orihime could say anything, Yuri ran up to the wall. What are you talking about? You've seen how strong this guy is. I don't care what you've learned over the past few days. You can't handle this by yourself. Oh. There you are, Ishida. Ichigo yelled back as if he had been wondering where everyone else was. I've been here since the beginning, stupid! Yoruichi shouted, losing his patience. Ichigo replied in a low-key manner, you're really noisy. Chad spoke to Ichigo calmly through the wall, can you win? Ichigo rubbed his neck and looked at Jidanbo from his side of the wall, possibly. Yoruichi's yelling from the other side forced a tick mark of annoyance onto Ichigo's head. What the hell is your malfunction, Kurosaki? Do you realize the situation you're in right now? So damn noisy. Ichigo remarked under his breath, I said don't worry. Do you even know what I've been doing for 10 days? The original plan was for me to take all of that time to recover, but it only took 5 instead. So during the 5 days I had left, what do you think I did? He waited for an answer but only got silence. Fighting, of course. In those 5 days and nights I fought with Getabashi. Yoruichi figured that he understood now. So he taught you battle skills dash? Nope. Ichigo said, butting in and keeping him from finishing his incorrect thought. He didn't teach me a single thing. But now I've got tons of raw battle experience and power. He took the wrap sword off of his back to reveal a large oversized cleaver that had no hilt or guard. It was just as tall as Ichigo himself with a black blade and silver edge. He looked at Jidanbo and smirked, I'm ready. I don't remember asking you to wait for me though. Are you finished? Jidanbo said disdainfully, it seems that you are just as uncivilized as those others. Such a disrespectful boy. He lifted his axe into the air. I wasted all of that time waiting on you. You should be grateful, he shouted as he slammed his axe down, cracking the ground with the force it hit with. But he didn't feel the normal amount of give that he otherwise thought he would have. Wait, how did you dash? Ichigo was holding back his axe with his sword in one hand. I wasn't ready yet. That wasn't exactly courteous, you know. He quipped at his enemy. Jidanbo began to let out booming laughter, amused at Ichigo. You aren't too bad at all. It's been quite a while since anyone could block my axe. Now I can finally use all of my strength. He lifted his axe again. Good luck, kiddo. Until now there have been only 3 people who could block my axe including you. But the ones who can block my second are absolutely 0. He slammed it down on Ichigo who blocked again. Good. But I'm not finished yet, die. Jutsupan Jiden Damatsuri de Jiden 10 Hit Festival. Jidanbo began swinging away at Ichigo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Air 5, 6. He lifted his axe one more time high over his head. It's almost done. 10. He swung his axe to the side and cleaved the top off of the wall he had put up to keep others out. When the dust from the flurry of attacks died down, however, Ichigo stood unharmed with his sword over his shoulder touching the ground and blocking his side. How are you still standing? Jidanbo asked in shock. Are you done yet? Ichigo said coldly, setting a piercing gaze on Jidanbo. Because it's my turn now, he said, preparing an attack. No, I'm not finished yet, Jidanbo said, lifting his axe again and pulling out a second one. My final attack. Banzai Jiden Damatsuri, 10,000-year hit festival. Sorry, but I'm going to have to destroy those axes, Ichigo said just as Jidanbo moved to slam his attacks down on him once more. Ichigo countered with a swing of his own sword and made good on his threat as he destroyed both axes with one swing, sending the large warrior falling onto his back as well. Jidanbo looked up at the sky before blinking and rolling himself back to his feet. That was dangerous. A minor distraction and I found myself on the ground. He noticed Ichigo's strange facial expression. Did you think you had won? I won't go down so easily to a guy like you. Now let's finish this with my dash. He held up an arm only to find a handle in his hand. Axe? My axe. Where is my axe? He began crying pitifully and throwing a temper tantrum at having his axes broken. Ichigo actually felt guilty about what he had done. This is kind of strange to say, but sorry about that. I guess I could have only broken one and left you with the other. My bad. Jidanbo stopped sobbing and looked at Ichigo. You're such a good guy. He started blubbering again. I'm an enemy. I lost the battle, but you still care about me. So generous. He placed a hand on Ichigo's shoulder, making the teen Shinigami incredibly uncomfortable. And here I am crying like a baby because of a broken axe. He suddenly threw his arms in the air. In over 300 years I have never been so thoroughly defeated. You have my permission to enter the western gate of the Siriidii. What is your name, young warrior? Ichigo pointed at himself. Kurosaki Ichigo. Strawberry. What a lovely name. Jidenbo commented as he turned towards the gate. Ichigo had to be held back by Chad from attacking the already defeated gate guardian. I don't know why you want to go through this gate, Ichigo, but take care of yourself. Everyone inside is powerful. Ichigo stopped struggling and nodded. I know. Jidenbo grabbed the bottom of the gate and began to lift. Well, if you're sure you're prepared, then I will open the gate for you. With a great show of strength, Jidenbo hoisted the massive gate high up over his head for Ichigo and the others to pass through, shocking everyone who had witnessed the feat. However, once he got it up, he simply froze in fear at something he saw in front of him. Ichigo peeked around the giant and saw a man with silver hair, closed eyes, a grin on his face, and a Shinigami outfit as well as an extra haori over the usual clothing. Who is this guy? He asked. Ikemara Jin, Jidenbo said fearfully. Captain of the 3rd Division. Jin spoke directly to Jidenbo in a light scolding manner. This isn't allowed. Before anyone could even do anything or before anyone knew what happened, with a swift motion the arm of Jidenbo was cut off. That's too bad. But you're a gatekeeper. Your duty is to guard the gate, not open it, he said, without any actual malice in his voice at all. The loss of his arm caused Jidenbo to scream in pain and lose his hold on the open gate. All the while blood from the open wound rained down. He still managed to hold the gate open, however, with one hand on the gate and his shoulders keeping it up. No wonder you're one of the Soul Society elites, Jin mentioned casually. Even with a missing arm you can still hold the gate open. However, you are still a failure as a guardian, Ikemara Taishu. Yoruichi thought as the scene unfolded. I didn't expect anyone like this to show themselves so soon. Even though they're all very strong, his strength is beyond their imagination. If they fight here, the worst may occur. I opened it because I lost, Jidenbo said wearily. The guardian opens the gate when he loses. It is only natural. Did you make that idiotic rule up yourself? Jin remarked amusedly. You obviously misunderstood. Even if a gate guardian loses, he still may not open the door. If a guardian loses... The aura around Jin grew murderous. He must be executed. In a flash, Ichigo attacked in order to keep Jidenbo from being injured any further, clashing swords with the captain before breaking away. Yoruichi's jaw was left shocked by how brazen Ichigo was. The kid just moved at him on his own. What do you think you're doing, you bastard? Ichigo questioned Jin. Yoruichi shouted at Ichigo instead of letting Jin reply. What do you think you're doing? We beat Jidenbo fair and square, and then you just pop up out of nowhere and attack us? Ichigo said to Jin, almost seething. Inoue, I want you to look after Jidenbo's arm, he asked her, getting a nod from Oriheim. If you want to fight so badly, then I'll be your opponent. If you attack unarmed allies so easily, then I'll have to rip you apart in revenge. You're interesting, Jin said about Ichigo. Aren't you afraid of me? Hell no, Ichigo said angrily in response. Absolutely not. Stop messing around, Ichigo. Let's retreat for now, Yoruichi nearly pleaded. Getting into a fight with a captain-level Shinigami in the first few hours of being here wasn't exactly on the to-do list. Ichigo? Jin said in his head as he got a look at Ichigo's physical makeup, orange hair, sword as long as his height. So you're Kurosaki Ichigo? Huh, so he does exist after all. Ichigo looked at him in confusion. Do you know me? He said before he noticed Jin had turned and started walking away. Where are you going? Not turning to face him, Jin spoke. Well, if that's the case, then I definitely cannot let you pass. What the hell are you walking away for then? Ichigo questioned before deciding to make a crack on him to provoke him. What are you planning on doing? Throwing that knife at me? Oh, he didn't know at all, poor bastard. Jin held his sword out to the side. It's not called a knife. This is my Zanpakuto. He quickly set himself in a sideward stance, tucking the blade under his left arm and pointing it at Ichigo. Ikaros, Shinso, shoot to kill, God's spear. Jin's sword rapidly extended at Ichigo with intent to impale him. Ichigo held up his own Zanpakuto in defense but ended up getting pushed back into Jidenbo, throwing them both outside of the gate. The gate began to close as his sword retracted. Jin peeked out under the bottom of it and waved at everyone. Bye-bye now. he said pleasantly right before it slammed shut. Kurosaki-kun! Orihime shouted as she, Chad, and Yuria ran towards the downed Shinigami who was motionless on the ground. Ichigo suddenly popped up. Damn it, that hurt! He yelled, surprising everyone that had moved to his side to check if he was hurt or not. Where is that bastard? He nearly killed me. Arg, he still seems lively. Yuria thought as he saw Ichigo bitching to himself about Jin. He took that attack head on, and he's still just fine. I'll say it again, scary guy. He looked at Ichigo's new sword. Is that how he did it? I think he called it Zangetsu, his new Zanpakuto. Ichigo stood up and looked at Yoruichi who had walked up to him. Sorry. Because of me the door closed again. Forget it. Yoruichi dismissed his apology. There's no point in dwelling on it now. Although the door is shut again, the results would have been potentially worse had you passed through. That was Ikamaru Jin, just be glad you weren't injured. So my clone was right. You guys finally showed up. Took you long enough. They all looked up onto a nearby building to see Naruto crouched with a dry look on his features as he waved disenchanted. Yo. Did you guys know that you are incredibly slow? I was hauling through that down my place. What happened to all of you? I thought you were all supposed to be right behind me. Naruto! Everyone exclaimed, having actually forgotten about him with everything that happened. Where have you been? Yoruichi scolded. I thought you had been killed when you went through. Naruto shook his head, a distinct lack of humor or good nature on his face. No, don't you give me that. Something exploded when I made it through and I couldn't look back. Do you know how long I've been waiting for you guys to show up? I got sick of waiting and thought you had all died. He then pointed at the downed Jidambo and the closed gate. I tried that too when I first got here. I kicked another giant guys on the east side of this place. I didn't land here. I can't open that gate either or even get inside, so I've just been messing around out here trying to think of something. How long have you been here? Yoruichi asked after jumping on the roof he was sitting on, perching on his shoulder and whispering to him, not wanting to alert anyone else. Naruto answered quietly. I've been here for quite a while waiting on all of you. Yoruichi remarked. Time must have been displaced due to what happened with Orihime's barrier and the Kotatsu. We might be able to take advantage of this later. Just keep it to yourself for now, okay? Naruto nodded as they continued to watch Orihime work on Jidanbo's arm, as the villagers came out to interact with them all. So what have you been doing by yourself? Staying out of trouble, I hope. Naruto grinned. Of course. I know how to be discreet. I had to exist as an immortal on Earth and move when I needed to, so I'm an old hand at blending in. His eyes took on a more glassy tint. I just had to spend some time looking around for something. Yoruichi blinked. What were you looking for? Naruto's eyes panned over to Yoruichi's golden ones. I wanted to see the friends that first left me behind so long ago. Sigh, I couldn't find any of them. This place is so big even with my Kage bunch and I couldn't go everywhere. I couldn't even ask about them no matter where I looked. They had lives of their own, and while I'm very happy I can't bring myself to show it. But then I saw that this place had old people and memorials, and I realized that they must have passed on here as well. Yoruichi flinched for him and wrapped a tail around his neck. You really have been alive for a long time, haven't you? If that's the case, then they must have been far older than 2,500 years old in this realm. Naruto looked at his hands and clenched his fists. Probably. I lost count of how long I've been alive. It's way longer than the modern calendar for sure. Way longer. I didn't know people died here too. What makes this place so different from the realm of the living except for the lifespan? I can't find much of a difference at all. Yoruichi didn't know how to respond. That's a very hard question to answer for one that has seen so much of the living world like you. Maybe you can find out? But if it makes you feel any better, they reincarnated. Naruto looked at her hopefully. Obviously they would have no ties to their past lives, but their souls would cycle back to Earth. She didn't get a response from Naruto, who stopped talking and simply looked at the others talking to the villagers below. Are you going to be alright? Yoruichi asked him. Naruto looked over at the cat, giving him a worried look, and gave a wide grin. Oh yeah, I'll be fine. I can't get all down in the dumps now, can I? I'm your ace, aren't I? What good would I be to everyone getting down about this here? He stood up and looked at the sky. So what if they're dead? All I've ever wanted was to keep my precious people safe and happy. And I did that. I'll never forget them for as long as I exist, and that's how I'll keep them alive. Every time I use a jutsu, and every time I wear my old village's symbol, that means that they're still alive. Even if it's just in here," he said, pointing at his heart. Yoruichi smiled at him. "Well, that's a very strong way to look at things." Naruto shook his head. "Not particularly. I've gone this long without them. It hurts every now and then, but there's nothing I can do. I'm not a god, Yoruichi. All I can do is keep going. I'll never catch up to them now, so it doesn't matter anymore." "So what's the plan, boss? How are we getting in? Because I'm drawing a blank. Even touching the walls of that gate takes my power away. I'll let them rest for now," Yoruichi said, curling up on his shoulder and shutting her eyes. "I have a plan, but I need to ask around for some information on someone. Would you care to accompany me while the others get used to the Soul Society, since you've been here long enough to get the gist of things? You can tell me about your friends while we look." Naruto chuckled and started walking along the rooftops. "Well, if you want. So let's see, where should I start? Okay, I've got it. When I first became a ninja as a kid, I was placed on this team with 2 other kids and a sensei. Now this one girl, Harino Sakura, was rather pretty and had pink hair, and I had a crush on her. Never worked out for me. Go figure. But just so you know, you're way hotter than her when she was grown up in Yoruichi. Way hotter. But then there was this other kid, Uchiha Sasuke. Laughs, what a douche.